welcome everybody to today's live stream. I am John and this is Just Homebrew. And this is the first live stream of this channel. Today we're going to be brewing a German Altbier and I'm going to be brewing it on my electric HERMS home brewery. So I'm going to go over the recipe and walk through how I built the recipe and the ingredients. And I'm also going to walk you through a detailed overview of how I brewed this recipe on my DIY electric home brew system. So I'll go into detail throughout the entire video. For the schedule, this brew day should last around maybe 4 or 5 hours. I did get the brew day started last night and I got the mash water ready to go. So I'm ready to sparge in, I'm ready to mash in. The mash water's ready and I also have the sparge water ready. So I saved a little time last night and to help out this brew day flow a little bit more today. So a little bit about this live. As I mentioned, this is my first live video. I'm putting together an Altbier series. I did post a video of how I built the recipe, so if you haven't checked out these videos yet, I put together a Let's Build a Classic recipe. I pulled a recipe from online and I walked you through how I built it through my software and tailored it to my electric HERMS system. I also put together a fun car vlog video driving to the homebrew store. I thought that was something cool, something different on the channel. And I talk about this upcoming brew day, thoughts around homebrewing and how I grab ingredients for the day. And last night I posted a short on the channel, just something fun to get people excited about this live brew day today. So make sure to check out these videos when you have a chance. If you have any thoughts about building a DIY electric HERMS system, ask away. I built this system myself. I pieced it together. I built the electric control panels that you'll see throughout the video. I think I posted a video earlier this year on how I put together these control panels. So if you're really into that stuff, make sure to drop a question in the chat and I'll make sure to go over in as much detail as I can on a live brew day. Brewing for me on the system is a handful, so I'm going to do my best to try to monitor the chat, but also I want to get this brew day underway since this is going to take about 4 to 5 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over and I'm going to go ahead and mash in. I have the mash water set to 148 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and get that started and then I'll come back and check the chat and see if you have any questions. But for this grain bill, I always like to print out the recipe and have kind of a guide throughout the day because you can get kind of lost and a lot of things are going on, especially with this HERMS system that I've noticed when I've brewed with the past few years. For the grain bill, I have 8 pounds of Munich malt, 8 pounds, 2.6 ounces, 6 pounds, 8.5 ounces of Pilsner malt, German 2-row, 13.1 ounces of Cara Munich malt, 13.1 ounces of Carapils, and 3.3 ounces of Carafa 3. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on what those ingredients will do for this Altbier. And then for the hops, I have some German noble hops. I have some spalt, a couple different varieties of spalt. I didn't have a great selection at the store, so I actually had to go back in. If you've noticed on my recipe video, I added the spalt hops. I did have to go back and adjust the alpha acids in BrewSmith. These were a little bit lower than I was shooting for, so I went in and adjusted in the brewing software, so I should be good to go. I'm shooting for a bitterness around 25, 26 IBUs. And for the yeast, I have White Labs. You know, this is the White Labs WLP029 for Kolsch yeast. Did make a mistake. I left it out all week, so I did have to run to the homebrew store yesterday to pick up some fresh yeast. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start mashing in. If you jump online, make sure to, if you're enjoying the video, share, like, and subscribe. definitely use your support. And anybody who's subscribed in the past, thank you for the support on the channel, much appreciated. And so let's get started mashing in, and I will come back and talk about the mash process I'm using. I did add a step mash to my mash today, so that's kind of fun. I've never done a step mash. But I'm going to go ahead and set the camera up so I can show you how I mash in on this HERMS system, and then I'll talk about my process throughout the day. That's what I hope you guys get out of this. If you're interested in all grain brewing, or if you're brewing on your stovetop, or you're thinking about upgrading your system to an electric HERMS system, it is an advanced system. It's something I didn't build until many years later in my home brewing career. But hopefully it gives you a good idea on how this works, and hopefully it's a lot of fun to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and mash in. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is transfer the water from my boil kettle that's set at 150 degrees. I'm going to get that into the mash tun, and then add the grain. So that should bring the mash down to 135 degrees. So let's go ahead and get that started. One thing I had to do is I had to shut off my electrical element to the boil kettle. It's maintaining that 150 degrees I set at it before I jumped on live. And I've done this a few times where I've kept it on and drained all the water out, and the electrical element will spark a little bit. I don't know if it sparks, but it makes a crackling noise. It's not a good sound. Try to keep it submerged underneath water as much as I can. Okay, we're right about four and a half gallons. There's some hand signal I can make for it to stop moving around. Okay. So now I'm at about 5.17 gallons of water. It's at 150 degrees. So now what I do, usually I have help. My buddy who lives across the street usually brews with me, but usually I have help mashing in. I typically crush my own grains. I like to bulk buy all my grains, and I have a grain crusher, monster mill. I bought it years back, and I don't mind crushing my grains. This is something that, just a convenience factor where I just didn't want to spend most of my time on a live video crushing the grains. And, oh yeah, that's a good consistency. I'll tell you what, that brewing software really seems to be spot on once I had to dial it into my software, or this brewing system dialed into my software. You know, if you saw that first video, I use Beersmith. There's others, and I've tried others. They're all pretty good. I just use Beersmith because it's what I've been using forever. But the water volumes took me a few tries, especially when I first built this system, to really get the equipment profiles. There's things you can do within the software that builds up the equipment profile, and it learns how you brew. It's not Gen AI, but spend enough time on it in. Oh, this looks really good. It's just a real easy way to brew. And if you're new to brewing, all grains might seem intimidating. Heck, it's intimidating to me sometimes. We're just going to let that set a minute. You go to the store and you buy kits, and those kits are pre-made for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, at least for me, I wanted to know what those ingredients were doing. And it's just a good way to learn how to brew and know what recipe is. Wait, I just spilled this everywhere. My tabletop is clean. I cleaned this pretty good last night, so I'm just gonna toss them back in there. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so I have it all mashed in. I'll have to clean this up during the brew day. What a mess. So I have a brew day timer here. I want to do this for 15 minutes. So I'll get that timer starter. See, where are we at? Before I do this, I'll go over a little bit about the setup. So I have the boil kettle, so where I boil all the wort, the mash tun. Both of these are 15-gallon kettles. And in the mash tun, I have a false bottom in it. And if you saw that there is that manifold. I added this last year. Kind of cool. Before that, I just ran a tube within that kettle to recirculate the water around. And I have the hot liquor tank. The hot liquor tank is 10.5 gallons. And for a 10-gallon batch, that's really the smallest you want to go, especially when you're sparging your beers anyway. So what I typically do is I have the water, I mash in, I push the water all the way through the hot liquor tank into the mash tun. Go ahead and close this just so I keep, yeah, it's right around 138, so we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and get my And once I'm done with this, I'll sit down and check the chat, see if you have any questions. So just let this underway. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, and I basically have a timer. And so I've got the timer going. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the hose that goes into the pump, that pushes the pump through the hot liquor tank. And I'm just gonna move this and move it to the mash tun. So that way I'll recirculate wort through the grains here, and then I will recirculate it through the hot liquor tank that has a coil inside, and the coil keeps it at a certain temperature, and I'll show you what that looks like on the control panel. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to quickly move this over to this guy. I'm just going to open it up, and over here I've got the control panel that controls the boil kettle and the control panel that powers the hot liquor tank. I have it set at 135, and that's the step mash I want, to keep it at 135 for 15 minutes. And one thing I do, this boil kettle is kept at 135 initially, and what I do is I take the temperature sensor and move it over to this little T on the side, and at the top of this T is where I want to capture the temperature now. The wort that goes into here and through the coil, and I'll show you that coil in just a minute, the coil keeps that at 135. So at the top of here, it should be around 135, so that the control panel will flash on and off the heating element inside this hot liquor tank to keep it consistent at 135. So let's get that going here. Start slow. And eventually, I gotta open this. I always get to open those valves. But anyway, you see, yeah, the video's working, great. So currently, I have the wort being drained out of the mash tun through the pump, and the pump's pushing it through this. It's really just a coil inside the hot liquor tank, and it's being pumped back into the mash tun. And what I typically do is I just try to find a good flow rate to keep the mash consistently going over the grains. That looks pretty good. I'd like to have the mash come out the sides a little bit more. Basically, you don't want the wort to be sucked down at the bottom of the mash tun and get stuck. So you want to balance the water pressure that's coming from the bottom of the mash tun, so you're getting that good coverage of wort through the hot liquor tank and back into the mash tun. So that looks really good to me. All right, that phone is working, and it looks like we're at, so right here, if I step over here, this little guy here is, if you ever heard of PID, it basically is a device that can read the temperature of a liquid, and then from there it can flash on and off something like a heat element. It's the electric element inside the hot liquor tank and the boil kettle, and it's very precise. It can ramp up the temperature to a particular temperature, or it can ramp it down. So right now, the top number is 134. That's 134 degrees that's coming out of this T here. And I can tell here that I have 16.8 amps. This is a 120 volt box. So I know that the heating element is on, and it's coming up to 135. So what will happen is we'll get to 135, and then it will dial back the amperage. So just a really cool way to keep your temperatures consistent through this beer in particular, the step mash. I've never done this before. I usually just keep it at, you know, your typical beer mash temperatures of 148 to 154, and it does a really good job. This is going to do a great job because I don't have to worry about the temperature fluctuating now from 135 degrees. I can keep that at 15 minutes, and it should keep that going pretty good. So I'm going to shut this. I like to shut the top of the mash tun just to keep that temperature consistent. So we'll let this go for, okay, just kind of give you guys a little look. It is circulating through there pretty good. Okay, if you're just joining, I am brewing a German Altbier on my electric HERMS system. I had a little technical difficulty getting going here, a little streaming issue with my Wi-Fi camera. It looking good here. So hopefully that keeps up. So the plan for today, I'm going to walk you through the mash, the boil, and get it into the fermenter, and I'm going to show you how I do this on my electric HERMS system. And went over the recipe a little before, but I'll post the recipe in the chat or the description if you're interested in knowing what this alt beer. You know, this German alt beer is something I try to find locally yesterday, and I couldn't find it. And I'll be honest with you, I've never had a German alt beer. It's an ale. It's technically called an old beer, and it was before Germany really got into the lagers. And this is kind of a hybrid from what I understand. And it's brewed, it uses Kolschieß, so it's brewed as an ale. And what we're doing now is step mashing, and the step mashing is going to bring out those complex sugars that's going to aid to this malt. I believe it's a malt forward beer, and it has bitterness, and it's supposed to be a crisp bitterness from what I understand. And I'm really looking forward to checking this beer out once it's done. But I think we're just about done with the step mash, and I'll walk you through how I dial in the control panel to do the step mash. We're at 135 right now. Ultimately, we want to get to 152 for 60 minutes. So we have 22 seconds left on this, the first mash temperature, the first stage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the PID up. So the temperature coming out of here, I'm going to have this set to 152 degrees. So over about 10 minutes, the wort's going to go to 152 degrees. Oh, here we go. Here we go. My little check mark. So it's a pretty simple PID. You just, right now it's set to auto tune through through a temperature probe, and I'm just going to raise it to 152 degrees. Inside the hot liquor tank, there you see that coil. So the wort's going through the coil, through the bottom, and it's going through in a circular motion all the way to the top. And this is telling the control panel to be, hey, set it at 152 degrees now. So as the water's warming up, the wort's going to be warmed up to 152 degrees. I think this is going to take about 10 minutes. Let's check my my recipe guide. So we've mashed in. Well, once we get into the 60-minute mash, I'll start to get. It's one thing I forgot. I forgot to add my. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and create my water profile right now. Gosh darn it. Got so preoccupied with that technical difficulty that I forgot to add my salts to the mash water. So we missed salts at the first step mash. It is what it is. So we will add them now. So this calls for, let's see, 1.8 grams of gypsum. I totally forgot to put the salts in the mash step. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and do 1.86 grams of gypsum. There's going to be two parts to this. There's going to one be for the mash and one for the sparge. And if you're new to water profiles, don't worry, so am I. I know enough to be dangerous. And what we're doing is at least I do, I start from RO water that doesn't have any minerals in it. And what we're doing is we're adding the minerals back to chase after a water profile. Okay, so we got the control panel, we're at 140, so we're not quite at 152, so I'm not going to start my 60-minute mash yet. I use, when I was making my water profiles, I quickly found that you need a scale that's really able to measure grams. You know, you need a fine-tuned scale. This scale I picked up $10 from Amazon. It's worked out great. In fact, this is my second one. I had one scale where I stored in the mash tun and left it there during a brew day, and I actually mashed my scale once. It actually works. I let it dry out and it works, but I did buy a new one. Yes, it does feel like you're dealing drugs in your basement. Anybody who walked in and saw this white powder would think that you're up to something. And then calcium chloride. 1.4 grams of calcium chloride. All right, I'm a little overboard there. How are we doing that temperature we're at? We're a little ways off. I wonder if that's set to 100%. It's taking a little while. Okay, 1.42, good enough. These are kind of neat. When you buy this stuff, they come in big bags, and I was a little worried that the salts might, they'll definitely absorb moisture at some point. So I went in, my wife had these little, I guess they're little ketchup packets that we gave to our kids, and It worked well. You don't need a whole lot of salt when you're creating water profiles for 10-gallon batches. But I also had these little containers. I thought they were a neat little addition to my brewery. See how well that keeps out the moisture. 145, we're almost there at 152. So this is getting up to temperature. We're close to starting our 60-minute mash at 152. Okay, I'm going to measure out the hops as I go with the boil and see how that goes. This brewing on my electric brewery. I built this myself. This was a DIY project. It was a little before COVID, and this was a really fun project. So if you're ever thinking about brewing, it's a lot of fun to build, a lot of fun to brew on. But to run you through here, this is my 15-gallon boil kettle. I have a 15-gallon mash tun and a 10-gallon tank. And inside the boil kettle, I have what's called a boil coil. It's basically an electrical element that heats the water. And I have a type of electric element in my HLT. And what's happening right now is the mash is being recirculated through the hot liquor tank, and we finished the step mash and we're trying to bring it up to 152 degrees, and we're going to hold that for an hour. And this will continuously recirculate through the hot liquor tank and back into the mash tun. And the great thing about this system is you can really dial it in to really specific temperature. Since I have a little time here, we have 60 minutes. I'll go a little bit over the grain bill if you didn't catch this earlier. I'm using 8 pounds, 2.6 ounces of Munich malt, 6 pounds, 2.6 ounces of Pilsner 2-row German, 13.1 ounces of Cara Munich malt, 13.1 ounces of Carapils, and 3.3 ounces of Carafa 3. And that is the grain bill, from what I understand, to be for this alt beer. For the hops, know that I did change the hops additions slightly this morning because I noticed the alpha acids in the spalt hops I had or purchased the other day were a little low. So I went back into my brewing software and updated the alpha acids. And I'm using a little bit more hops for each edition, but I'm using, let's see, 3.36 ounces of spalt hops at 60 minutes. That's going to give the beer its bitterness. 1.6 ounces of spalt at 30 minutes. This will also bitter the beer. And then 0.68 ounces of spalt at flame out. And for the yeast, I'm using White Labs WLP029. I had to purchase this twice because I left this out of the freezer for a week. So I went to the Homebrew store yesterday and picked up 2 new packets of White Lab WL029. I do plan on trying out the yeast I left out for a week in a Kolsch. Maybe I can do a yeast starter and salvage that yeast. Just didn't want to do a yeast starter for today since I had a lot of things going for this brew day. Let's see, anybody brewing today? All right, we'll let that go for a minute. Let's see how long we have left in our mash. Okay, 30 more minutes. That will give me a little opportunity to talk a little bit more about this equipment. We've got the control panel, and I think this is the coolest part of this system, where you can really dial in temperatures throughout the brewing process. But right now, this 120 volt panel is powering the hot liquor tank, and it's set at 152 degrees. And it's monitoring the temperature out of this little T here. So the wort is going through here, through the pump, back into the hot liquor tank, and going through a coil. We'd be able to show you that coil if I had a secondary camera. But then from there, it's back into the mash tun. Let me check the mash tun. All right, it's looking really good. You'll have to take my word for it. Alt beers, from what I understand, is a dark copper color, and this color is looking amazing. It must be from the Carafa 3, but it's really looking like a good color mash. And right now, I have one pump on my system. I see a lot of electric HERMS systems. Guys run 2 pumps, but I was trying to keep this as simple as I can for my system, and it's worked out great. I only have to switch the hoses a couple times during my brew process. But what's happening is the wort's coming out of the bottom, going through the pump, and then this hose here goes back into the hot liquor tank, and it just repeats itself for 60 minutes. All right, the plan is, after about 30 more minutes, we're just going to lift out the tube and put it into the boil kettle and pump all the wort that we've created through the step mash and the mash process and get that into the boil kettle. From there, I'm going to empty out about 7 gallons, 6 or 7 gallons of the hot liquor tank at about 168 degrees through the grains. And what I'll do is I'll just configure the hoses in a way where the sparge water will come out and fill up the mash tun, and we'll sparge that for about 10 minutes, and then we'll empty the sparge water into the boil kettle. You know, if you're watching this video and you're enjoying it and getting some value outside of the technical difficulty I had, make sure to give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't, subscribe. I put a lot of content out there, DIY in nature. I try to show how I build all my equipment. I've got one of the popular systems on my channel is this glycol system. It's been awesome. So I'll show you how this works at the end of this brew day. But I have videos that go over how to build glycol systems. I have a few fermentation chambers that I built, and obviously the system behind me. I just love that stuff. I love building systems, specifically brew systems, and just learning how all this stuff works. And really appreciate it. You know, give me a thumbs up. That's all. That just helps the channel grow, and I appreciate the support. And if you haven't already, check out a couple videos I put out. The first video was putting together the recipe for this alt beer. I did get feedback. It was a little boring, but I find putting the recipes together is pretty cool stuff. You know, you start as a beginner home brewer where you go out and you buy recipes that are already made for you, and you go out and you brew and you make beer, and it's great. And you get to a point in your brewing career, at least I did, and like, hey, what grains are being used? What hops? What variety of hops should I think about for a specific type of beer? And out of the hundreds and maybe thousands of variety of yeast, how does that work, creating all the beer? So I find all of that stuff pretty cool and fun to learn about. So that's that first video. And the second video is just a fun vlog video I put together, driving to the brew store. I took my sports car out. That's another hobby of mine. I just really use that as a homebrew go-getter car. And I take you through some thought processes of how I think about creating recipes, homebrewing, and picking up the recipe for this brew day. And yeah, check those videos out. Those were some fun videos to make on the channel. And for the future, you know, this series, I plan on putting a few more videos together. I've put out full brew days in the past where you take a 4 or 5 hour brew day, and then you ferment it, and then you taste test it. It takes a long time. It takes about a month or two to put together a beer. But I wanted to tell the story from start to finish. And I didn't have a whole lot of videos in the pipeline right now, so I thought, why not put together a short series that allows me to dive deeper into brewing beer and sharing as much knowledge as I have about the brewing process as I can. So I plan on putting out a few more videos. There's going to be a fermentation video where I walk you through beyond the brew day. I'll show you how I dial in my glycol system. And this beer in particular, it ferments at a lower temperature. It's not a lager. It's a kind of a hybrid beer, from what I understand, where you ferment at a lower temperature using an ale yeast, and you actually lager it. You lager it for a period of time. So it's kind of that hybrid beer. It's probably what how the Germans got to their lagers and pilsners. that are so popular today. They started about using these, this old beer recipes and evolved into today's lagers. So I'm going to walk you through or capture how I maintain those fermentation temperatures, how I keg the beers afterwards, or keg the beer, and then ultimately taste test. So I'm really looking forward to taste testing. I went to a local beer store yesterday to try to find an alt beer, and there is not an alt beer locally where I live in Pennsylvania. Anyways, if you've just jumped on, let me know, what are you brewing? Have you ever brewed an alt beer before? I'd like to know what your experience was like and how if you were able to get that alt beer. From what I understand, it's a malt forward, it's a slightly bittered and highly attenuated beer. So it's just from what I understand, a crisp, dark amber color, or an amber color beer. So let me know if you've ever brewed an alt beer before. All right, let's double check to see where we're at. Got a little Brew Day timer down here to keep me on track, because typically I'm drinking with my buddies during these days and I lose track of time. Now I'm losing track of time talking through this live brew day and how I'm brewing this alt beer. So we have 23 minutes left in the mash, and take a look at it. It smells really good. It's going really well. So at 23 minutes, we'll start to empty the wort into the boil kettle, and then I will remember this time. If you were on earlier, I totally forgot to add the mash salts to get the water profile I was looking for this beer. So talking a little bit about the water profile, do any of you guys create your own water profile, or do you just use your city water, or do you go out and buy spring water at the store or distilled water? I use a RO system. It's worked pretty well. I can make about 15 gallons in about 12 hours. So I typically run that water through the RO system and create my water the day before. And what that does, it just takes out all the minerals in the water, and you can start from scratch. And then you can start adding salts to the water to achieve that, either the maltiness or the hop forward flavor, or a mixture of both. I think this beer is a mixture of both. You have a heavy malt forward taste, but it also is balanced with a German noble hop for the bitterness, and that's what I'm looking forward to in this alt beer, is that balanced German malt beer. The control panel, so we're at 152, so it's hovering. It goes a little above 152 and then drops back, or it goes 153 and then drops back to 152. So it's balanced itself out to try to achieve that target temperature of 152 degrees. And take another look at, it's looking great. All right, see we have a few people on the stream. Where are you guys from? What I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna empty the water out of my boil kettle, so I know when I dump the wort in there, it's going just to be wort. I do have a little bit of water left over from the strike water I created this morning. So I'm just gonna do that real quick, and I'll jump over here and talk about this brew day a little bit more. I'll go into a little detail about this steam condenser when we get to the boil. You'll notice I don't have any fans in my garage. I use a steam condenser to extract all the steam from the boil. I'll go into that a little bit more detail once I get to the boil. I get a lot of questions about the steam condenser, and it's worked really well for me. Get a lot of questions. Oh, do you get is it DME in your wort? And I'll have to test it. I don't know. I don't think so. I've brewed, 20 or 30 beers so far, and the majority of them have been very good. I haven't had a DME. I believe it's called DME. It creates that corn taste in your beer. So I haven't experienced that yet, but I'll go into a little bit more detail about that steam condenser when I get to that part of the boil. While we're waiting on our mash to finish, I have to measure out 3 hop additions for this alt beer. One at 60, one at 30, and one at flame out. So I'm going to be adding 3.36 ounces of spalt hops at 60, so we'll measure that out. Do you guys measure your hops out ahead of time, or do you measure it out as you throw it into the boil? It all depends on how the brew day is going for me. Usually when alcohol and beer is involved, it's a little chaotic, but since I'm not drinking yet, let's go ahead and do this right now. I know that's, oh, you know what I have to do? I have to switch to ounces. I know that's 1 ounce. One. Two. If you guys are joining the stream, let me know if the audio is okay. I think it's okay on my end, but I'm not entirely sure. Be right back. Okay, that's the first addition at 60 minutes. That's our bittering hop. And then we'll do our 30-minute addition. At 1.6 ounces, so it's one of these. Actually, that's good. And then we'll do our flame out addition. Have you guys ever brewed with a spalt hop before? Yeah, it smells like a Kolsch hop. Yeah, orange. It's got a little orange flavor to it. It smells really good. All right, then we need 0.68 ounces at flame out. So this will add a little flavor hop aroma, so to speak. And what's cool about this system is I don't use a hop spider or a basket or bags. I just dump all the hops right in the boil, and then when I'm done the boil, I use a Whirlpool motion to gather all the hops in a nice cone in the middle. And so it's just a great way not to have to use like a hop spider. I use a hop spider on my all-in-one, but I hear that when you use a hop spider, it loses a little flavor to your hops. Do any of you guys use a hop spider in your brewing? Let me know. I'm curious, but I do like not having to put hops in a bag and just whirlpooling the hops in the center when I'm done. Okay, I have eight more minutes until the mash is done, and then we will crank the sparge water up to 168 degrees, and then we'll start our sparge. We've got our salt additions ready to go for the sparge. I went ahead and measured out all my hops. If you followed along in an earlier video of mine, I walked you through how I put together the recipe, and I did have to adjust my hop additions. You know, if you've never noticed this before, but on the hop packets, it gives you alpha acids. And from what I understand, the higher percentage is the higher bittering potential. So I noticed the spalt hops I bought were 2.1% alpha acids. So I had to go back to my recipe, and I found that the recipe called for the spalt hops to be 4.5% alpha acids. But that's a really cool thing about learning how to do or work with brewing software, is that I adjusted it. I went back and I adjusted the hops I had on hand that had a specific hop alpha acid, and it adjusted my hop additions for my boil. And now I'm going to hit that IBU, the specific IBU for this beer. I believe it's going to be around 25 or 26 IBUs, what I'm shooting for this alt beer. But I have the three hop additions ready to go. So this will help me organize this brew a little bit more. So I'll line them up like this. This will remind me I have to put my salts in, first edition, second edition, a third edition. I am going to add a Whirlpool tablet. I noticed the other brewers add a Whirlpool tablet to an alt beer to clear it up a little bit at the end. And I'm also going to add yeast nutrients to make sure we get a nice, healthy fermentation. And for the yeast, I have 2 packets of White Lab WP029. And if you were on earlier, you know that when I purchased all the ingredients last week for the car vlog I created, I was an idiot. I left the liquid yeast out for a week, so I had to go back yesterday and buy two new packets of White Labs yeast. Has anybody on the chat ever brewed an alt beer before? It's on the mash. I'm going to jump behind me and just start the process of moving the mash over to the boil kettle. I'll try to talk you through a little bit about this, but feel free to drop me any questions in the chat. I'll make sure to revisit the chat once I'm all set with sparging out this wort. All right. Let's see. First, let's turn that off. All right, that was looking good. So what I do, I have a 1-pump system, and now that the 60-minute mash is over with, all I do is I reach in here, not burn my hands. I've got this kind of manifold that helps spread out the wort in the mash tun. And I just take this off. Also, if you've seen other videos, the Beer Junkies, I've referenced his recipe as well. I think he was one of his recommendations is the LP029. Other than it's a Kolsch ale yeast, since this is an ale, which I found interesting, that this is a hybrid ale where you brew it as an ale, you ferment it as an ale, but at a slightly lower temperature. However, you also lager it, so it's a hybrid ale lager. Now, I'm going to give this a shot just to see. If I lose you guys, I'm going to try to shoot a little bit of this to kind of give you what it looks like in the boil kettle. I am risking losing my stream here, but I think it's worth it. Okay. So now, this is really when I screw up on my brew days, is configuring the next step. I have to figure a better way how to do this. Maybe a quick connect to put this on and off. What I'm going to do here, and trust me, I always screw this part up. It's a little messy, but what I'm going to change this over to the hot liquor tank so I can pull the sparge water out. And I need 7 gallons of water. I have 8.5, so I need to drain everything down to 1.5 gallons. And I did forget to do something. I forgot to ramp up my sparge water. So I did forget to do that before I emptied out in the boil kettle. But what I'll do is I'll bring the sparge water up to 168 degrees. What I need to do is change this. I have 2 ports in my hot liquor tank. One port measures the temperature going through the coil inside. This temperature probe monitors the water in the kettle. So I need to bring this up to 168 degrees. So we're at 162. Our target's 168. So what I'm going to do, once that hits 168, I'm going to put 7 gallons? 6.93 gallons. That's close enough. So we'll put 7 gallons in the tune, and that should put us at, I'm shooting for 9.1 gallons today. So the software says I need about 10 gallons to start with, and I have about a gallon boil off, so it should put me right around 9.1 gallons. So this this control panel, if you logged on the stream a little later, if you're ever interested in building these things, I'm not an electrician. I don't have that background, but with a little effort, I have a video out on my channel that goes over how to build these things. They're a blast to build. But I have a 120 volt version and a 220 volt version, and this one powers the hot liquor tank and the other one powers the boil kettle. And these PIDs, it sounds intimidating if you've never done something like this before, but it's just a little computer that can monitor temperature and dial in the heat using a heating element of some kind. But what this is doing here is I have it set at 168 degrees and it's slowly coming up to temperature. Wish I could show you guys. Let's get this sparged and into the boil kettle. We're at 168 degrees. Bear with me. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll get to them once we get to the boil. All right, so what I need to do is move this tube. And this is just messy on my setup. There's no way around it. It's amazing my wooden table has lasted so long. It's just messy. So what I'm going to do is pump 7 gallons. So I need to measure it from here. So there's 8.5, I need to go down to 1.5. I'll put 1.5 here, and then I'll mash it. Okay. Sparge. I almost forgot again. All right. All right. If you missed earlier, I forgot to put the salts in. I got the salts in for the sparge. Not the most efficient way, but I got them in. I was so excited to show you guys what it looks like inside the kettle, but that'll have to be for the next live stream. Okay. One thing somebody wants to see my dirty garage. One thing I always forget, or mostly forget, I have to remember to turn off the heating element, because if the water goes below the heating element, it's not a good thing. So make sure if you build one of these and brew on them, just keep an eye on the heating element. Oh, I'm so excited. We've got some people on the live stream. So excited you guys showed up. Dang it. There we go. Okay, to recap a little bit, I am moving my sparge water into my tune. As if you were fancy and had 2 pumps, you could do this at the same time. But since I have 1 pump, kind of have to split it up a little bit. So the way I measure it is I pre-fill this with 8 to 10 gallons. And then when I'm ready to sparge, and depending on how much sparge water I need, I just empty out the sparge water minus the amount I need. So if it's if I need 7 gallons for this sparge, I just lower it down to 1.5 gallons. Very scientific, right? Okay, we're at 4 gallons now. I made a mess. That's over there. Okay, we're at 2 gallons. Make sure that's off. Okay, 1.5. A little bit for the hoses. Okay, we're good. Now, this is the biggest, I think the biggest change from brewing on an all-in-one, or even like just a burner and a cooler, you have to think a little bit. There's a lot of more hose changing, and some people do not want that. It's not that bad. But it's the price you pay for consistency and a challenge. But okay, we have... Now what I did is I measure the hot liquor tank with this sensor, and that's just a general 168 degrees. Now what I want to do is move this over here so I can measure the actual... Actually, I don't have to measure it since it's already 168 degrees, so I'm not measuring anything at this point. So what I'm just doing is sparging. So what I do is I let this just sparge for 10 minutes just to make sure I can rinse the grains as much as I can. And after 10 minutes, I move all the sparge water over to the boil kettle. All right, so just want to think what I have to do here. I'll sparge. Once I get enough volume in my boil kettle, I'll start to turn on the heating element. I think I'm a little low right now. Yeah, my heating element's still underneath the wort. So once I get enough volume in the boil kettle, I'll fire up the heating element, and I'll walk you through how I turn on the heating element for the boil kettle. It's a little different because we're not monitoring the temperature of the boil like the mash, where we have a sensor. Like in the mash, you have a sensor that monitors the temperature consistently and fires the electrical element to maintain that temperature. For the boil, we just use a percentage. You fire it up to 100% just to get it to boil, and then I generally dial it back down to 50% to maintain that boil. So I'll walk you through that on the PID, and we'll do all the hop additions, and then I'll walk you through the steam condenser I have on the boil kettle. I don't have a fan or anything to extract the steam in my garage. I use the steam condenser. It's worked great. It's the only downfall to the steam condenser is it uses water. I try to collect it and water my flower beds the best I can, but you either use water or electricity. Pick your poison, I guess. But I'll walk you through how I have that set up, and we'll get on with the boil. Is anybody brewing today other than me? Yeah, if you guys were asking about OBS, oh, nice. So you have a steam condenser too. I think you'll enjoy it. What I like about it, it's compact, it's simple, and you don't have the fans above you going the entire time. I think for me, that's the biggest benefit, is not having those fans just going and having that loud sound. And yeah, it's just really simple to use. Make sure when you're boiling on whatever system you brew on, keep an eye on the percentage of power, either the flame or if it's an electric system, because when the lid's on the boil kettle, you don't need a lot of power to keep the boil rolling. If I keep my system at 100%, it'll create more steam than's needed. So what I typically do is bring it down just enough to keep the boil going. And another thing you have to keep an eye on is your boil over. Those two things, if you keep an eye on those two things, I think you'll really enjoy the steam condenser. Yeah, the bucket, I use about, I have a bucket ready to go myself. I have an old, I think this is a 5 or 6 gallon bucket. I basically just have all the runoff going in the bucket. I have a pipe on the side of my garage that goes down and feeds off in my driveway, but I actually prefer just to dump it in a bucket, and 2 or 3 times during the boil, I just dump the bucket out. And you can also keep it for cleanup too. I think I keep 1 bucket ready to go, and I add cleaner and sanitizer to it when I'm ready to clean the kettles after the brew. Oh, the Blickman Brew Commander, nice. Yeah, I looked at those too. Those look really slick. You know, I'm sure he'll be real happy with that. I have a lot of my equipment. I have the Anvil kettles, which is kind of your economy line of brew kettles. I have a Blickman 10-gallon kettle. They do have a lot of top-notch stuff. So I think the Brew Commander will do you well. I think you'll be really happy with that. Oh, nice, Ray. Yeah, I have an Anvil Foundry as well. I love that thing. It's really easy to brew on. I actually brewed a lager on it last, and it turned out really good. Yeah, I basically swap between the two. If I know I have some buddies coming over, I'll just whip out the Anvil Foundry, and it lets me just enjoy hanging out with people. And it's just super easy to brew on, and Brew's a great beer. If I'm by myself or I have a buddy come over and we want to split a batch, I'll brew on this. In fact, I'm splitting this batch of beer with my buddy. But yeah, the Anvil Foundry is great. I've had a lot of good success with that. Pressure fermenting, that's something I want to, I've never pressure fermented before. Something I want to get into. Yeah, the vigor boil, I hear you. I think what from what I understand, you want a vigorous boil, a consistent boil off rate is one. And two, it's like make sure you boil off all the DME. I believe that's the acronym, but you want to get rid of all the, you have to make sure that popcorn taste, that the DME that is it's basically an output of boiling the malt and the hops I think it's the malt, but obviously it's not something I know a lot about, but I know it's just be careful of the DME, and that's why you want to keep a high boil rate. Floor drain would be freaking awesome. I just have a simple, one of my videos I show you how I ran a simple drain off to the side of my house, and I just run a hose beyond that. I generally just come in afterwards and I hose off my entire garage because, you know, I'm an idiot and I spill wort everywhere and on the floor, especially when I'm chilling in it. I just wash everything out into my driveway. My wife loves that. Brew House Reno. I don't know if you saw a video of mine. I am going to change up my brewery a little bit in the future. I have a basement, and when I built the basement, I planned a whole kitchen area, you know, a brewery. And that's something I'm looking forward to. As I'm getting older, I want to brew in a climate-controlled space. But I plan on brewing out here for a little while longer. But yeah, a floor drain, climate control would be phenomenal. Oh, it doesn't? The brew stat mesh profile doesn't work on the Brew Commander? Yeah, that's interesting because how I did it, I just did it manually. I guess in the Brew Commander you can set up different steps. I looked into it a long time ago where it automatically increments the stat mesh. I guess you can do it manually like I did where you get your strike water ready, you do your first step mash, and then you, like my PIDs, you can step mash manually. You just have to be aware and not screw up like I did today. That's cool. Let me know how that works out. DMS, thank you. Dimethyl sulfate, yeah, I'm an idiot. So it shows you how much I know about homebrewing. Got the DM right. Sulfide. Yeah, I know that's just the product of you know, mashing and boiling. And I think that's one of the things I have planned is I want to actually send my wort away to have it analyzed, just to be sure that I'm getting all the DMS out. And I think all the modified grains that we use today, and this is based off of conversation I hear from other brewers, is we use such modified grains for our brewing purposes that it's such a low risk of getting DMS in the first place. Yeah, manually is the only way. Sorry guys. I'm getting old, I have to put on my glasses again. It doesn't. Yeah, okay, so there's some sort of timer involved. Yeah, maybe reach out to Blickman. I use a lot of their stuff, and they've commented on some of my videos. I've never talked to Blickman or Anvil as like a support, but they seem to be very active in homebrewing, posting, and following up on people who use their products. Maybe their support staff can reach out to you, and because I would agree with you, you want it as automated as possible, so you can think about other things. But yeah, let me know how that works out. But maybe just plan to do it manually. How many step mashes do you plan on doing? Step temperatures. I'm not too far behind you. My vision completely went this past year. I went from the same prescription for 25 years, and then it just went. Now I've got these stupid readers everywhere. Okay, well, hey, if you guys have anything you want to talk about, any questions, post them in the chat. I'm just going to jump over and just think about how I'm going to transfer this over to the boil kettle. I think I'm ready to go. The sparge is done. Okay. I am going to get this out. And then just turn it on. It's going to go up there, through there. All right, let's do it. Oh, it looks, I know you guys can't see this, but it really looks amazing. I'm excited. Now the question is, do I hit my original gravity? So this is a Blickman Riptide, and I've used this for a few years. I love this thing. It's got everything built into it where you can fine tune. It has a needle that fine tunes the flow on the pump. And it has a relief valve if you have to pop it. I had this sitting on the side, and I've never had a problem with a thing binding up or trying to pump the wort. And it's somewhat quiet. The chugger pump, you can't have a conversation in the garage. It just echoes everywhere. I use it as more of a utility pump. But a little bit about this pump, I thought I broke it a few months ago while brewing, and it turned out that the impeller broke. The part of the impeller cracked, and it made an awful sound, and I thought I broke the entire pump, and I ordered a new one, but it turns out it was just the impeller. So if you guys ever use a pump like this, keep an extra impeller on hand. Oh, this smells amazing. I'm super excited about this beer. It's coming down nicely, and that's 6 3/4, and I need, it says I need 10 gallons. I guess that's right. I generally boil off about a gallon. I'll have to look at my data. It's been since November since I brewed on this system. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but I brewed a Treehouse hazy IPA, and I compared it on a brew in a bag and brewing on the stove in this system, and that's the last time I brewed. I can't believe it's been almost 6 months. But I'm trying to reacquaint myself with the steps and the volumes I need for pre and post boil. Keeps you thinking. Okay, we're at 8.5 gallons. So technically 10, so I need to squeeze another gallon out of this thing. We'll see. Looks like it's searching a little bit. I find I come really close. I always think, oh, I'm going to be short a gallon, and I'm always surprised at how close the software gets you to getting to your target volumes. Yeah, I'm at 9.5 gallons, so I might be over a little bit. Just about at 10. Okay, what I think I'll do if I'm over, I'll extend the boil to get it to 9.1. Because I'm at 10.5 right now. Okay, I'm just going dry. So I'm at 10.25. Not bad. That's not bad at all. Still coming a little bit. Okay, so 10.25, 10.5 short. That's good. That's good. And I do calculate, the software lets me calculate lost mash as well. So I calculate the lost mash under the false bottom. I'll have to get you, the next brew day, I'll have to show you inside the kettles. But I have a false bottom in there, and I calculate the lost wort with the tubes and everything else. Okay. That does seem like a lot of wort in these guys, but deal with that later. So 10.5. Just a little bit over on the pre-boil. Oh, let's do this. Let me just walk you through the boil. So now this guy here is the 240 volt. So I have a little switch on the side that fires it up, and I don't have anything plugged in. It doesn't work when it's not plugged in the kettle. Okay, right now, the sensor on the side of the boil kettle is reading 175. And our target when I was creating the sparge water was 149. So what I'm going to do is just set it to a manual setting. And this allows me to go into the settings and just set it at 100%. I'll set it at 100% until it comes to a boil, and then I'll dial it back to 50. And you will see in real time how fast a 240 volt element takes 10.5 gallons of wort up to a boil from 166 degrees. Just let me check a few things and I'll go back to the chat. Okay, that's that. What I like to do is get the steam condenser ready. So I have a little, over here. On this brew table, I have a few cool things that I added. I have a, can't see it, but it's a hose that I use to fill everything up I need from a water standpoint. Then I have a little outlet here that I could use for my Counterflow chiller that I'll show you in a minute and power this steam condenser. But how I have it set up is I just have a hose that runs into here. Just get rid of this for a minute. I have an outlet here that I can turn on, which will pump water into the steam condenser. And then this is really important, Brewery. Make sure on your steam condenser you're monitoring the temperature of the steam, because I believe it's the target you want to shoot for is 140 degrees for the steam coming out of the steam condenser. So that's basically the water cooling it down to a temperature that can that's manageable, I should say. So I know that I try to shoot for 140 degrees with the hot water coming out of the condenser. So what I do is I have enough hose to reach a bucket. And I just drain it in the bucket. I also have I don't know if you can see if I can show you guys. There's just a PVC pipe I have installed on my wall that I tried to have the steam condenser come over and drain out. The angle of the pipe and the tubing just restricted the steam too much. I decided just to steam it into the bucket, but it works great. Let's do this. This thing is so cool. All right, I have roughly 10.5 gallons. I think I'm happy with that. I do want to see, I usually have we will capture the rest of this wort and use it. Okay, yeah, it's definitely done. So yeah, we're really happy with how that turned out. And what I'm gonna do is just capture the residual wort in the lines. You don't want to waste any wort, right? So about a full glass I'll just dump in here. That should put me right at 10.5. I'm just not going to worry about this wort in the lines. I'm going to roll with it. just means I added a tad more water to my sparge. 10.5. Okay, I think we're good. What, 156? Oh, breaking stuff. Just put stuff away here, get ready. So let me get organized here and I'll jump right on the chat if you guys have any questions. Okay, just let me think about this for a minute before I jump on the chat. So I have that coming up. 10.5. Need to add. No, I don't need this right now. So I got the water. I need to go turn the water on. I will be right back. What's up, buddy? Okay. All right, we have water. Good to go there. So I got the Whirlpool tablets, that. Got a mess I have to clean up. I'll leave that for now. Okay, we're at 161. Get this ready. I'll be right with you guys. Just let me focus on this so I don't have a boil over. But I'll have 60 minutes to chat with you guys and talk about beer and answer questions. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, yeah, I have 10.5 gallons, so I am about a half a gallon over my target. So what I like to do is just kind of, once you get past the break, as you guys know, you guys are homebrewers, or if you're new to homebrewing, what's happening in the boil kettle is that starting to foam, and there's a name for that. It's not coming to me. Maybe you guys can help me out. Just the name's escaping, but what's happening is there's foam building up into the boil kettle, and I'm just going to keep a close eye on it, knock it down, and once I get that rolling boil, I'll come over here and knock it down to 50% and let it go for, I might have to let it go 90 minutes because I definitely want to shoot for 9.1 gallons. I want to make sure I hit my original gravity. Yeah, that should be good. All right, take a quick. All right, I'll check out this stuff here. Hey, Bearquai. Yeah, the Blickman Brewery is nice. That's a really nice system. Probably a lot more compact. A lot more compact in this system. You can use gravity as your friend. Nice. I have a 15-gallon 2-vessel and some spike flex converted to be able to brew and ferment. Nice. Yeah. I looked at the spike flexes, and that you can customize those in so many ways. Can you pressure ferment on those spike flexes? They look super nice. Yeah, the Riptide is, I do like the Riptide. They also have that other kind of in between the Riptide and the pump that came with the all-in-one that's kind of seems a nice middle ground that I would want to check out, but it doesn't have the fine-tuning valve. I think that's the winner for the Blickman. It has, everything is so compact and built into one unit. You don't have to have an extra valve to open and close it. It's just, it has everything on it and it's quiet. Oh, nice. Blickman is those 70 miles. Well, say hi to them for me. Maybe they'll watch this live stream. They've commented on a few of my videos. I do like their products. I think there's so many good homebrewing products out there right now. When I started 20 years ago, it literally was a boil kettle and a cooler, and there are so many options out there for brewing right now. It's just crazy. But yeah, say hi to them for me. Yeah. I have an extra one if you're around. I'd give you a good deal on one I just bought. I guess I'll just keep it for a backup. Yeah, that's the cool thing about that brewing software. I didn't used to do that. I used to just all right, get the recipes in there, get it close. But once you figure that out and you're comfortable with, okay, this type of grain does this and these hops add this type of bitterness and aroma, then you start diving in a little deeper and okay, well, how can I fine tune my equipment that gets the most efficiency possible. That's the name of the game, efficiency. But to be honest with you, we brew at such a small scale, it's more of a fun goal for me. I think efficiency, if you're off by a few ABV points, who cares, right? No, I don't. I usually do post-boil. Oh, I guess I could. I may have done it once or twice, but what I'm shooting for is just the original gravity. I think right now, from what I've read, there's so many calculations on the room temperature and the wort temperature, and there's some sort of table and chart where you have to kind of make sure you've got it all aligned to get an accurate number. The way I do the original gravity, just like everybody else, is I pull the wort, let it sit for a minute. Well, actually, I use this guy, or a fractometer, but still get you in the ballpark of your original gravity. But yeah, to answer your question, I just do post-boil. Yeah, the gimbal, I was gifted this. I've had it for a little while. I've used it on a couple of my videos. And it's just another thing I have to learn how to do to be efficient with it. But I think so far, this is a great setup. I just wish I had the secondary camera to show you what's going on behind me. Next video. Oh, if you guys are interested in OBS and that kind of stuff, let me jump over to, this is Cam Studio, and I have all these different scenes that I can do. Like I have if you're jumping on late, you can check out the grain bill. I have 8 pounds, 2.6 ounces of Munich malt, 6 pounds of Pilsner, 13.1 ounces of Cara Munich, 13.1 ounces of Carapils, and 3.3 ounces of Carafa 3. So there's all sorts of different screens you can use in this Cam Studio. It's not as powerful as OBS, but I really like working off the iPad. And for the hops, if you jumped on a little late, I did adjust the hops. And when I originally built the recipe, the alpha acids were a little different than I originally planned. So I just went back to the recipe after I built the screen, of course, and adjusted my hops, but there'll be 3 additions, and I'm using the White Labs yeast. But yeah, I've got that screen. If you're jumping on late, I've got a couple videos. I've got the Let's Build a Beer recipe. Check that out. And a brewer's road trip. Just taking a trip to the road store, the brew store. I do plan on creating a few more videos for this series. I'll do not a live, but I'll do a video on how I just ferment over the next few weeks to kind of keep this series going. And I'll do a kegging video. Maybe there'll be shorts, but I think for the most part there'll be the video, and then I'll do a taste testing. So I'll have a few more videos in this series. And then I do plan on having some videos later this summer and early fall on just some regular brew days that I tape in advance and put together. And I'm gonna put together a series of 2 years later. I have all this equipment I built for my brewery, and I'm gonna go back and talk about how it's worked 2 years later. And I think that's going to really help me out and hopefully some viewers, because some of the videos I put together early on aren't of the greatest quality, and the storytelling wasn't as good as it is. I think it's getting. I still have some room to grow, but I'm going to make sure to go back and really do a great job on explaining how I built the systems, and really I think the key point is how it's worked for me over a period of time. And I think that helps you guys. You see a lot of people building these homebrew systems, and you see a one and done, and you're like, well, how does that work over time? Did it hold up? That's something I would want to see as a homebrewer. It's like, hey, you've built this HERMS system. How did it work? Do you use it all the time? What have you changed? So that's kind of the series I'm thinking about putting together from fall into winter. So that would keep me busy. And if you have any ideas on things you would like to see, let me know. Hit me up in the chat, or hit me up through the channel. Yeah, happy to dial in some videos for what you guys want to see. You just got to start. You just have to start and do it. My kids always laugh at me, but it's a good skill. I used to work in the communications field, and I always say telling a story is an art, and every career and what you do is, if you can tell a good story, you're doing something good. Okay, let me focus on this just for a minute, and I will get back to our chat. Okay, we're just about there. I don't know if you guys can see, but we're at 201 and we're at 100% for the boil. This is kind of a cool little thing here. It shows I'm drawing 230 volts and 17.3 amps. It's kind of one of those things with the audio. It's like, is it working? Am I really pulling power? Well, I can tell I'm pulling power. All right, we're getting there. Real close. I boil at about 212, so another couple minutes. Trent, I have to confess a little bit. Trent, the Brew Show, by far, is such a great channel, and he puts out such phenomenal content, and he's such a good storyteller. And I've chatted with him briefly on a couple other people's live streams, and he's jumped on my chat a couple times and chatted about a video. I don't know Trent. I've never talked to him, so I was a little guilty name dropping him on this series. Although when I saw his video, he definitely inspired me to do an alt beer. So I definitely have to reach out to Trent and introduce myself and see hope he's not upset I used his channel in this brewing series. I would love for him to be a guest on the live stream. Now that's something I will have to learn how to do, is have a guest on. I think that's another level of complexity. You could tell he has a knack for production, and his stuff is top notch. So Trent, if you watch this, or Brew Show, really good channel. I've followed it for a while and inspired this video. I hope not. Maybe I'll have to send him a few of these alt beers. I think he is in California, and I'm on the East Coast, and I will have to figure out how to send the beer over for him. Maybe he can try the beer. The San Diego, yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, I don't know. I've just met a few other brew tubers. The Beer Junkies is a guy who I connected with early on. I wanted to do a collaboration. I really wanted to partner somebody who was a real brewer, somebody who worked at a brewery, knew who they were talking about, and kind of coupled it with my homebrewing DIY knowledge and passion. So I talked to him for a good period of time. We actually went to the same college, which was odd, but a really good guy. The Beer Junkies, check out his stuff. He definitely knows his stuff. But other than that, yeah, the Brew Show, and I don't want to name drop but yeah, that's one thing I wish I did more, is just connecting with brew tubers. I think that would be pretty cool. I am involved with local home breweries, local beer clubs. That's if you're not a member of a local homebrew club, definitely try to get out there. It's an older generation, not a whole lot of younger people out there. And that's what I kind of hope with this channel is, beer is not the most popular thing right now, but what I'm doing right now, you can brew. It's basically the same process for any type of beer, and you can make anything you want. And my wife's not into it. In fact, I'm going to get my wife involved with this channel soon. She wants to do kombucha. I don't think she'll be on camera, but I might put together a few kombucha videos. But I really would like to see the younger crowd get excited about home brewing, because it's such a cool hobby. All right, we're at 207. We're just about there. So I'm going to let this go a couple more degrees and dial that back, and I'll fire up the steam condenser, and it's all hooked up. Cool. Yeah, let me know if you want me to focus in on any particular part of the boil. I'm planning on just walking you through the process of, getting up to the boil. I'll go over the steam condenser a little bit. Maybe I'll try to break out the camera again to kind of give you a closer shot of it. But I'll do the steam condenser, and then I'll walk you through how I cool off my wort with the cooling Counterflow chiller. And then I'll get it as cold as I can get. I'm not going to belabor this live brew day to get it down to pitching temperatures, but I'll let it run for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'll get it to a temperature and get it into the fermenter, and I'll show you how I hook it up to my glycol system. The cool thing about having a glycol system or something to temperature control your fermenter, I can get it close with the Counterflow chiller, get it into my fermenter, and then I can use my glycol system to bring it down to that fermentation temperature, and I'll pitch my yeast later tonight. So I'm not stuck in this really long brew day that I can walk away from it for a little while. Oh, I failed. I tried the second camera, but it looks like it's problematic. Thank you. I don't see it on my end yet. I guess it'll pop up on my screen. Okay, well, I guess I lost everybody for a minute. I'll bring you up to speed with what I did. I tried to do the second camera, but completely failed. We got a boil going, and I'm just monitoring we've got a rolling boil in the boil kettle. I dialed it back to 52 degrees. And so I'm at 115 degrees on the steam going out into that bucket. So I could probably push the power up a little. So how I do it is I want to get as much power into the boil kettle as I can with keeping the steam at 140 degrees. So here's what I'm kind of seeing. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is the app I use. So I create the recipe, and this app kind of takes you through all the steps. So it takes you through all the boil additions, the hop additions. So I have 24 minutes left on my first hop addition, and when that's finished, I hit next to the next hop addition. Keeps me in line, and it really helps me not miss a step. Although, as you see, I've been known to miss a few steps on this brew day. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll definitely check that out. Iroquois. Okay. All right, let's see. We got a really good boil. We're at 32 degrees. We're at 52%. We are good. This is working good for the boil. Okay, my next steps involve the second hop addition and my flame out hop addition. But I do have to remember I want to throw a Whirlpool tablet at 10 minutes and also a yeast nutrient tablet at the same time. I don't have that in my brew schedule. Yeah, I'm only streaming at 1080, so I think 1080 is fine. I try to shoot 4K for videos. So that gives me, you can shoot it and you can kind of crop it a little bit if you're crooked. But I don't know if I'm set up to do 4K streaming or not. It's something I'll have to look into a little bit more. But I think 1080 would be fine as long as everything's centered. That would be my goal. Nobody needs to see this 4K face. All right, let's check on the boil. Okay, we're 130 degrees. That's hot. On the steam, we're at 52% on the PID. And if you're joining late, this is an electric HERMS system. And we mashed, we did a step mash, we sparged, and now we're boiling on the boil kettle. And we did our first hop addition. And now what I'm doing now is just monitoring the percentage of the power going into this electric boil kettle. We're at 52 degrees. You see this jumping around a little bit. So at 50% power, it's going between 18 amps. So if you were to look into an electric brew system, and maybe that Blickman, was it the Brew Commander? I bet you they had this, something similar, just so you can monitor the voltage and amps. But yeah, that's looking good. Okay, well, a little hot now, so I'm going to dial it back. I think I'm usually around, we'll try 48, 49. All right, that's a really good boil. And what I typically do is clean out my mash tun while this is boiling, but I'm not going to do that today. I will focus on if anybody has any questions. I'm always up for learning something new like the Brew Commander. It looks like a really sophisticated piece of equipment. Mine's a very basic PID that kind of like does the job kind of thing. Okay, yeah, no problem. You know, I'm thinking when I follow, who's a guy I watch, Cityscape. He's got some great live streams on Sunday afternoon. And that guy really knows recipes. He can really walk you through, and he knows what to add and what it does to each beer. And I try to catch him, but it's hard to follow for 4 hours. And I think jumping in and out, it's great if you want to figure out how, particular part of the brew day you want to see and do a deep dive. I think that's what a live brew day is all about. I mean, I love it when people hang out the entire 5 hours. That's great. And I'm curious to know what happens after the brew day live. I think it's posted as a video, and what I'm going to do is make sure to chapter it out. So if you want to go back and watch something, that'll be really easy to jump around the video. But we will see. Since this is my first one, I am learning. Okay, checking my brew day timer. We have 16 minutes to go on the first hop addition. And then we'll throw in our second hop addition. We'll be halfway through the boil, and then we'll do our flame out, we'll Whirlpool, and then hit the Counterflow chiller. Oh, wiffle ball, nice. I've seen videos of those crazy wiffle ball pitching. It's like another, when I grew up playing wiffle balls, you had the big wiffle ball and you kind of chucked it at home plate and it kind of curved. These guys are like having 10-foot breaks on wiffle balls. It's crazy. Yeah, if you're talking about Cityscape, again, I don't know Cityscape other than watching his live streams and videos. I think he does a great job with his live stream. And when I was thinking about doing my live stream, it's like, how can you carry a conversation about brewing for that long? It's really an art, and he does a great job. And he's won a lot of awards. But I try to catch him when I can. Yeah, Dennis. Yeah, he was on Homebrew, not the Homebrew for Life, but his streaming channel. He was on not too long ago. I thought he did a good job. All right, let me double check. Let me see what the boil's doing. That's looking great. And it's getting steamy in here. Not steamy, hot. Hot. You know what time it is? It's beer time. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a nice cold beer. All right, well, we'll do now here's a name drop, a Julius. So if you're joining a little late, I live in Pennsylvania, so we don't have any treehouse locally in Pennsylvania, but my parents live in Rhode Island, and they're about an hour from one of the treehouse distributors. So my parents just came down a few weeks ago and dropped me off a case of Julius. So thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. Now he's got a channel. It's interesting. Nate. Again, I've never talked to him. Super uber successful company, and really tapping into the YouTube channel to help people learn how to brew, market and distribute their product, and you could tell that you hear him speak and talk about beer. You realize why their beer is so good because he knows what he's doing. I wish he would do more homebrewing videos though, rather than taste test Bud Light. But he's killing it. He's doing a good job. Let me check happy hour, happy hour. Yeah, Noam, I talked to, when he was on the happy hour, Noam, I chatted with him a little bit. Yeah, he's not far from where all my family's in Rhode Island. I grew up in Virginia and moved to Pennsylvania, but Noam rattled off a few breweries up there that I'm familiar with. Yeah, Treehouse is tough. You have to go there, but it's incredible. They do such a business where you can order online, go to the brewery, and the guys just come out with exactly what you need. And yeah, it's a good experience, and it's a good beer, obviously. Let's see. Phoenix, Arizona. Nice. I've never been to Phoenix. We were out west. We did, what did we do? We did a West Coast trip we went to Seattle last year and did the West Coast trip, but I've never been to Phoenix, Arizona. I've been to Scottsdale, Arizona. Let me check this. It's got to be hot as hell out there right now. Yeah, taste testing water videos. Okay, I mean, I did see a taste test water video a while back when I was researching what to make, and there was one video of somebody taste testing waters with another dude in a kitchen, and they're getting like 50,000 hits or 100,000 hits, and I spent 2 weeks making a video, and it's a work in progress, and I'm thinking, wow, I just need to make a water tasting video, and I might get monetized. It's all good though. It's all good. Not doing it for the money. I'm doing this just because I like doing it. Yuengling. Oh, yeah, Yuengling. That was a college beer for me. I'm not so much of a Yuengling fan, but I'll drink it. Pawtucket, yeah. I have family in Pawtucket. Yeah, I love it when he's on the happy hour. He just adds a nice character to the show. He seems to know a lot about homebrewing. I noticed a lot of the popular YouTube channels, like the happy hour, they do such a good job of interviewing people. It's entertaining, very entertaining. I love different perspectives, and I think a lot of the theme is, homebrewing's dead and that kind of thing. Brewers are going out of business. Yeah, that could be the case, but my channel, I just want to focus on, hey, if you're into homebrewing, here's how I do it, and here's, if you're interested in follow along, how to build this stuff and get excited about it. That's kind of what I want to focus on. I don't think I can be as entertaining as some of these guys that can just carry a conversation and go off on all sorts of different topics. Again, dialing it back to this channel, I just want to keep it focused on brewing the beer. Yeah, Scottsdale, yeah, cool. Yeah, if I'm ever out there, you'll have to take me out to the local breweries. I don't have any plans, but we definitely want to do one more West Coast trip before the kids are out of the house. We don't have plans yet, but definitely want to head out there one more time. Yeah, Noam? Yeah, he seems like a great guy. Yeah. I'll have to start reaching out to these brew tubers. I have to be more proactive and get out there and talk to those guys. 102. At least it's dry, right? 102 without humidity. At least it's a dry heat. 107 at 10:30 in the morning. CH, yeah, he's another guy. You know, him and the Brew Show definitely kill it in terms of putting out great content. Guy is super entertaining. He definitely knows how to connect with people and bring stories out and tell stories of homebrewing and beyond too, beyond homebrewing. He doesn't put out a lot of brewing content, you're right. Yeah, he always talks about, he's a bartender, right? Zool, I think that's what he talks about a lot on his channel. I think he calls himself a celebrity bartender. Yeah, I really enjoy his happy hours. I don't think he's put one out in a while. It's a lot of work. I mean, just this live stream, I think, you know, to put a live stream together, what are you going to live stream? You got to get all the stuff situated. It's just a lot of work to put stuff together, and to put something out every week, I could imagine it's a lot of work. Says your excuse is dry heat. I've never really been in dry heat before, so maybe I am talking out, you know what. It's still hot. Yeah, I've heard about Northwest Small. I've seen him post a lot of it. He's really active in a lot of the big time live streams. He seems, yeah, I don't know Steven, but I've seen him post a lot. Oh, the chicken, I've never heard of the chicken nugget, the peanut butter beers. The Brew Show, I think when they did the peanut butter and jelly beer, I was like, oh yeah, I'll give that a shot. And I told them, yeah, I'll try the peanut butter and jelly beer, but I guess I chickened out of the peanut butter and jelly. I was thinking, what do you do with 5 gallons of peanut butter and jelly if you don't like it? I guess you just have to dump it. But I was talking to my buddies, like, would you drink peanut butter and jelly beer? And I didn't get a whole lot of yeses. All right, we're at a good boil. We're a little warmer than I want for the steam. Let's dial it back a little bit. Chicken nugget beer. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I could stomach chicken nugget beer. My son loves the Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, so I'm trying to imagine what it would be like drinking Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. I mean, what kind of sauce would you put on it? Is it sriracha sauce, or would you put hot sauce? I mean, that's a big determining factor of chicken nugget beer. You smash beers on Wednesdays. Yeah. Is he killing the happy hour? I mean, that's a show I really enjoyed. I could never make it through an entire happy hour. I usually fall asleep. And I usually don't drink on Wednesdays. I'll be honest with you guys. I try not to drink Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday, and just drink during the weekends. Getting older, the weight just stays on me. But I'll drink on Wednesdays every once in a while. Yeah, I'm not sure about the PB. Maybe more of the jelly. I could kind of taste the jelly beer, but the peanut butter, I guess that's the offset. It's kind of like the malt and the hops. You got to get the right mixture of the peanut butter and jelly. All right, let me see if Let me focus here so I don't screw another thing up. All right, 2 more minutes. Then we get our second hop addition. Yeah, I guess it's that right balance of peanut butter and jelly. Yeah, I don't know. The Eagle Nugget beer? Okay, I'll have to look into that. I guess that, as I was talking about earlier, what would the younger crowd drink? I mean, my son's not 21 yet. I can see the demographics on this channel. They're, you know, the 35 would be the youngest to be, or to 60. I don't know if I could do are seltzers popular? A tea, alcoholic tea beverage? I don't know. That doesn't appeal to me. That's the hope that these streams will inspire the younger generation to experiment with an alt beer. That's probably why I didn't get a ton of views. It's like, oh, who wants to brew an old beer? Well, you know, it's old for a reason, because it works. It's worked for hundreds of years, so it's got to be good. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess any beer drinker, you got to be careful, right? I'll have to check out Discord. I've never been on Discord. All right, yeah, I'll check it out. I might be a little intimidated. Is it like a live chat? I guess since you use webcams, I guess it's video and chat. Todd, oh geez, I cannot read this. I'm squinting. Topo Chico on tap? Is that like a Mexican beer or like a Mexican lager? Oh, that's what I want to do. I definitely want to do a Mexican lager at some point. That sounds really good right now. I don't know if that's the type of beer you're referring to. Wife and kids enjoy during the weekdays. That's exactly what it is. No recordings. Okay, so no recordings. Okay. Oh, sparkling water. Okay. I offered that to my wife. What if I make you a sparkling water? Because she drinks, what was it called? A stateside? It's like, I can brew you a stateside. I think that's a sparkling water, or maybe that's a sparkling spirit. Okay, time to add new ingredients, so bear with me. I'm going my second edition of hops. This is 3.36 ounces of spalt or spalter. I guess that's the correct name. So let's get these added. Boom. So we have 28 minutes left on this second hop addition, and then the third hop addition will be at flame out. And then we'll knock this down to pitching temperatures. Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Send me the information on that sparkling water. Mineral water for sure. Okay, yeah, probably. Well, I'm not a top YouTuber, and I've had some technical difficulty. I think I saw a handful of people on later. I guess I scared them all off when I killed the stream a few times with that second camera. But I guess the more live shows I do, the more people show up. I appreciate everybody on the chat today. This is way better than I thought it would be. You know, it's thing with YouTube is it's like most of the time it's a one-way communication where you put a video out there, you get some likes, and you get a couple comments. I'm super excited to have you guys on the chat and actually having some conversations with, I'm pretty sure subscribers. I've seen you guys post a lot. So this has been a ton of fun for me. Hopefully you guys are having a good time. Yeah, Brewing Bet, he reached out to me beforehand and he let me know he's traveling. I do appreciate he jumped on early on to check in. Yeah, he's one of the, I think he does, what's the social platform he does? Is it, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Not YouTube, but he's got another, I think he posts videos somewhere else, and he was the one, he reached out to me way early. I think this channel is 3 years old, and he was one of my early subscribers to the channel, so I appreciate him, reaching out and checking in and having questions. And Instagram, yes. Oh my gosh. I tell you, when I have a couple things going at one time, I cannot multitask. So I have to keep it, when I do these live streams, I have to make sure I stick to one thing at a time. But yes, Instagram. He was trying to get me to go over to Instagram a year ago. And it's not that I didn't want to do it. It's YouTube is so intense where it just takes all my time just to put out the handful of videos of a year. And just to think about another social media platform, it's just tough. I'm trying to imagine how I would do it, because obviously I have a full-time job, and this is not my full-time job. All right, so let me double check things here. So we're at 46%. 40, and I know what I can do. So now I have a little downtime here. We have 25 minutes. What I typically do is I set up the kettle to Whirlpool. So I'll walk you guys through a setup here so you can actually get value out of this video. Okay, how I have this set up is to do the sparge, where I ran the sparge water and I batch sparged for a little while. Now I'm going to configure the hoses to Whirlpool. And whirlpooling, what Whirlpool does is, instead of throwing your hops in a basket or a bag, you can whirlpool the wort around in a circle, and that will make the wort collect a cone of hops in the middle. So basically you're extracting the hops from the wort. And it's kind of a two-in-one thing here where we're whirlpooling, but I'm also going to force the wort through the counterflow chiller. I'll try to position the camera best I can, but I have a counterflow chiller right below my boil kettle, and I'll flow the wort through the counterflow chiller back in the Whirlpool. So it basically will cool the wort down as I whirlpool. So I'll go ahead and set that up right now. Kind of give you guys an idea how this works. So I'll just take the incoming hose. So I started with the boil kettle, then I went to the mash tun, and then the hot liquor tank for all the mashing. And now I'm going to be drawing the wort out from the bottom of the boil kettle. And then I'll configure this guy to go in let's see. I have a little wort in there. I'm going to get out of there since we didn't boil it. Oh, really efficient. I spilled that all over the floor. Okay, so that was just some lost wort, lost soldiers there. And I'm going to start the wort at the top here. And then Actually, let me do this for you. You actually see what I'm doing. There we go. Just going to reconfigure this hose that goes to the hot liquor tank. Does that reach? I think it'll reach. And I'll walk you through this in just a minute. This thing's hot as hell. All right. I have 20 more minutes on the boil, and I'm just reconfiguring the hoses so I can whirlpool and knock the wort down to pitching temperatures. So I rerouted this tube here to my Blickman, and then the Blickman just will push this through the Counterflow chiller, back up into a Whirlpool port, and it's just an arm inside the kettle that just kind of redirects the wort around in the kettle and spins the kettle in a twirling motion. So that's all set up. And what I'll do to feed the water, I have an extra hose here. So when the boil is done, right now the water is being directed towards this steam condenser. I can't take this off yet, but what I'll do is I'll just plug the water coming out the side of my table into the Counterflow chiller, and then I'll redirect the water outside. So that's the next step. Yeah, well, get back over here. Yeah, this gimbal is pretty cool. I'm getting better as I use it. Oh yeah, retired. Yeah, I'm about 10 years. I think 10 years I'll be retired, so that's good to hear. Oh, a stroke. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that you're recovering. Yeah, Barracuda. The gimbal is really cool. What's the name of this gimbal? It's called a Scorp, and you can use it in a number of different ways. Right now, I have it set up on a tripod, and I use it as a follow me mode where there's a couple hand gestures. I can tell it to track me, stop tracking me. I can reposition it. It's super cool. It does have some quirks. Throughout the day, I found it did have a couple things that went a little wonky. But you can also use it as a gimbal to track things and follow. I'll use it as more of a traditional hand gimbal when I'm brewing and shooting more of a brew day not live video. And you can put a camera on it. Right now I have a little Sony RX100 on it. You can put a iPhone or whatever phone on it as well, and it works great. Yeah, this was a gift from my father. So Dad, if you're watching, thank you. It's working great. All right, let me double check our settings here. 46%. I'm just gonna run this a little bit. I'm gonna leave it. So it's about a bucket full, five gallons that this steam condenser uses an hour, which isn't bad. We have 16 minutes left on the boil, so in about 5 minutes I'll add my Whirlpool tablet and a yeast nutrient. If you're new to homebrewing, the Whirlpool tablet just helps clarify the beer a little bit, and the yeast nutrient will just help ensure there's a healthy fermentation. But I'll put this in order. We'll do Whirlpool yeast nutrient, and then we'll do our flame out hops, which is also a spalt hops. And we're adding 0.68 ounces of the spalt hops for the aroma hop. Oh yeah, I do both. I use an iPad to kind of do the timer, and you can do the recipe on the iPad, but I also like to print out the recipe as well. It's kind of one of those things where I just like the physical copy, and I like to take notes on this as I brew, so I do both. Yeah, I would agree with you that the trying to do everything on your phone is a little small, and plus, I just look how I brew. I've made a mess, and my hands are a little sticky from touching the wort. I really don't want to touch a phone at this point. So I work off of an iPad. I recently gave my iMac to my kids, and I do everything off my iPad. I do the video editing. I'm doing this live stream off the iPad. The software I'm using for the stream, the Cam Studio, it's up in the air for me right now. There's some really cool features of it. I like the simplicity of the iPad, but it's quirky. I have to figure out why it shuts down when I switch different views, so I'm going to be very careful for the rest of the stream to really just keep it simple. But yeah, I find the iPad, especially I have the iPad Pro, and it can do everything that I need it to do, and it's portable. And I'm surprised. I throw a lot at it with the DaVinci editing software, and it just flies through it. There's some nuanced drawbacks on working on an iPad, but you learn about the workarounds. And I just think the trade-off between the portability of an iPad or a laptop, it's worth it. Yeah, I thought the iPhone would work good too. I'm pretty disappointed that I had some connection issues during the stream. I think the next time I do it, I'll have a webcam, I guess through the iPhone, and I want to put something on the wall so I can show you exactly what I'm doing with this brewing, the Brew Day. Canon, I was a Canon shooter. I'm an amateur photographer. I actually volunteer photography at work for events. I switched from Canon to Fuji years ago. I love Fuji for photography anyways. I had a little Sony RX100 for this, and it seems to do a really good job. But Canon's good. I've really enjoyed using the Fuji over the past few years. Yeah, short circuit. He was one of those guys that got me into following YouTube channels. I loved his approach to YouTube. He's very focused on showing you how to do things, how to brew things, talking about gear and tech. Don't know him. It was hearsay. It was more of a health decision. I guess we all have to stop drink less in the future. Because drinking is not healthy, let's be honest. But yeah, it's too bad he left the brewing community. Yeah, I reference, in fact, this panel, when I was wiring this panel, was one of his, the short-circuited videos. I remember years ago, I just needed some inspiration on how to put in a breaker, and I watched one of his videos, and it gave me confidence to put in a what is it, a fault circuit breaker. So I put in all the breakers for both of these control panels. I mean, I'm a product of YouTube. If I want to learn how to do something, I go on YouTube, whether it's electronics or learning how to brew. So it's sad to see these guys go. Yeah, Larry, I definitely referenced his videos quite a bit over my brewing journey. Yeah, he did one like fermentation compares, like fermenters, which was pretty interesting. It's crazy how you can give up a YouTube channel with, what does he have, 80,000 subscribers and then decide, I'm done. It's kind of like you get to that point, you want to keep going, but you know, everybody has their reason. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. iRun, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll check. That's my to-do list, is figure out how to get a webcam working for these streaming events. Okay, I have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and add the Wurflock tablet. Probably should have put this in at 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and put the yeast nutrients as well. Hope these don't go bad. This is a couple years old. At least a year, but let's get these in there. Oop. Okay, we're a little warmer than I typically like on the steam. We're about at 145, but I think that's manageable. One thing I do want to check, what's the boil off? Okay, we're at 10 gallons, so I'm almost a full gallon up. I'm gonna, instead of doing a 60-minute boil, take a note here. I'll take a gravity reading. If I'm close to my original gravity, then I'll run with it. But if I'm a little low, I'm gonna boil off for another, say 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, we'll do a gravity reading first. We'll do a gravity reading in 9 minutes. So if I'm, I guess not 10 minutes, should probably be at 9 3/4. So I should be close. Yeah, wasn't Larry, I saw one of his videos where he got stuck with a house project. It's crazy how you know all the storylines to these brew tubers, and you kind of know them, but you don't. But I remember he was doing a house project that completely consumed him, and he threw out a couple videos. He did a live brew day, and yeah, he disappeared. He's not putting out anything. It's kind of strange. I guess life is catching up, and Brian is still around. He does an off-road side-by-side channel. Okay, cool. Yeah, Brian, he had a killer channel. He went all out. I really appreciated what he did he went out to conventions and interviewed people and tried different formats and broke down in detail of how to build things. Yeah, that's kind of what I want this channel to be, is as informative as you can, and try to do different type of things. Like I tried the car drive. I'm not trying to make it a car channel, but I want to try different formats and bring people in to talk about homebrew. So yeah, I think he did a great job with his channel. Cool. All right. Yeah, I think I have to put Discord on my to-do list. Yeah, I think everybody gets a little health conscious. I know I'm approaching an age where I've got to start thinking healthy too. People watch my channels like, oh, you're brewing 10 gallons of beer. Well, I don't drink all that beer. I share most of it. I give a lot of it away. I don't drink 10 gallons of beer. Sometimes. Depends how tough the week is. Yeah, Larry. Larry was one of the original YouTubers, right? He did the here's how to go to Lowe's and get a cooler and turn it into a mash tun, and then he parlayed that into reviewing some really cool equipment from Blickman. I think he did Spike, and yeah, I think he did a really cool job. I like the cadence of his videos too. It's kind of like you're there with him. You're there in his garage, brewing with him. Another guy I like is who does a really good job of, you thinking you're in his garage's elementary brewing. I follow him quite a bit. I think when he puts his videos together, I like how he edits them and brings you along in that brewing experience. Yeah, I started with a cooler and mash too. Yep, sure did. I had a campfire burner for 10 years, and I had a cooler, and I all grained for a really long time in that setup. I had kids and stopped for a while, as you should, right? And then I upgraded that to, I have a video on a Chapman tune. That's a really cool tune. And then got into all this electric brewing, and just went off the deep end with the brewing hobby. Yeah, I totally agree with you. You gotta live the life. You gotta go for it. You gotta do what you want to do. Yep. When I go to my friend's house, I have all the propane set up, and people see my videos like, "Oh, you got this electric HERMS system," and well, I'll brew anything. I'll brew on a propane system. Just have as much fun. I'm not sure who. Oh, Bruce, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for chatting. I'll catch you up a little bit. We're brewing an Altbier on my electric HERMS system. We've mashed. Right now, I'm just finishing up the boil. Got 4 minutes left. Thanks to everybody who's joined the stream today. We've talked about a lot. I've had a lot of fun. There's still a lot of video left. I still got to chill the work down and get it in the fermenter, but I've had a blast talking to everybody on this live stream. Back to what I was telling you, Bruce. We're just about at the end of the boil. I threw in a Whirlpool tablet and a yeast nutrient just a minute ago. In about 3 minutes, I might extend that another 10 minutes depending on how much wort I have in the boil, but I'm going to throw in the finishing hops, the aroma hops. And then we'll start to knock this down to pitching temperatures. I'll hook the boil kettle up to the Counterflow chiller. And we'll get this wort chilled. Now what I plan on doing when I get to the point where we're knocking it down to pitching temperatures, I'll run it through the Counterflow chiller for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not gonna wait here for much longer. But once I get it to it, whatever temperature that is, I'll throw it in my fermenter and I'll hook it up to my glycol system. I think the glycol system is my most popular video on the channel yet. I think a lot of people are really interested in building and learning how to maintain temperatures on their fermenter. And I'll show you guys how I at least set that up and get that running. And I'll use that to get to my final pitching temperatures. Yeah, I've looked into how to have a pilot light or an automatic light. You can actually do a gas HERMS system, but believe it or not, I think I priced it out. It's more expensive to do a gas regulation system than it is to get an electric system. But you could build one of these on a gas system. I believe the pros don't use electric. You know, maybe a very small brewery uses an electric system, but most pros, see The scorp went out again. Most pros use gas and a gas HERMS system. Oh, looks like you guys know each other. Nice. Get some chickens, nice. Yeah, the glycol, that was a lot of fun. That was a COVID project. And it was one of those things I jumped on, and do I buy a glycol system or do I build it? I had an air conditioner that I wasn't using, and I had a couple things left over from my control panels build, and I just thought, let's just build a glycol system. And a little foreshadowing here, it's for the video I'm going to post on these in the future, it's worked great. I mean, I can maintain temperatures on a 10-gallon batch, no problem. And it's worked awesome. I'm really happy with the time invested in it. And would I buy a commercial unit? Yeah, sure. You know, if I came across something that worked well. But you know, if you want to learn how to build a glycol system, or just, I think the key is learn how to maintain fermentation temperatures. I would totally recommend either building a glycol system or a fermentation chamber. I mean, that takes your beer from good homebrew to another level homebrewing, in my opinion, is to be able to maintain those fermentation temperatures. But let me pause for a minute. We're done with the boil. That's exciting. Just a quick mic check for you guys. Is my audio still good? Battery still good? I like to live dangerously. A little update. I was a little high coming in for my boil volume. So I'm going to extend the boil from 60 minutes to, we'll give it another 15 minutes. From there, I'm going to take a gravity reading. In fact, let's do that now. Let's take a gravity reading. See where we're at. Let that cool down for a minute. Yeah, we'll boil for another 15. I want to try to hit my goal was 9.1 gallons. That would be the target for my original gravity. I'm probably a little high right now. Don't worry, I can get into trouble too. Although the past couple years, I was the dad who had to manage the driving to soccer an hour this way and a baseball game that way. My kids are older now, and I'm finding I have a lot more free time in my hands, but I had to manage my time a lot more just last year. Oh geez, this thing keeps moving on me, okay. But the guys I brew with, I'm flying solo today, but I do have a bunch of buddies who I typically brew with that we get into plenty of trouble, don't worry. I'm a dangerous, well, I roll with a dangerous bunch. Figuratively. Bastard guest. Okay, cool. Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, I think I definitely need to get a way to check the audio. I can set the audio up before I start streaming, kind of check on it, but I kind of lose track of the quality over time. Young man. Oh, I'll take it. I will take it. I feel old. I guess old. I think that would be, I know there's a lot of controversy of like, oh, I should get the single, heating element coil with the ultra watt density, or the boil coil is proprietary type of heating element. When it fails, it's costs a lot to replace. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. It's like, hey, if it's cost effective to you and it makes sense, why not? There's no rules as long as you can get the water boiling and you can upgrade it or whatever. I would go with that, whatever works. I bought my boil coils actually used. This guy was upgrading from his system, and I think he was just selling everything. And I got a killer dealer on my boil coils. I think I paid $150 for the 240 volt. I have a 120 volt running on this one, and I have another 240 volt that fits in a 10-gallon kettle. And my thinking was, just roll with that and see how long it goes. These have been running for 2 years. I haven't had any issues. I've even dry fired these a few times by accident. But I also have the Ripple coils. I was going to build them myself, but I came across that deal and said, these look good. Let's put this in the boil kettle and roll. Okay, I'm not familiar with brew gear. 2 15-gallon boil and 1 10-gallon. Yeah, that's exactly. I have 2 15s and a 10. I probably, if I had a 15-gallon for the hot liquor tank, I'd probably do that because I find that some beers 10 gallons is right at that sparge limit, but it's fine. All right, let me check the boil level of this. I am good with that. So we are 15, so I boiled for 75 minutes instead of a 60-minute boil. I'm at 9.5 gallons. Let me do a quick. Okay, I'm at 1045, and my original gravity, I'm actually a little higher, 1044. So we're good. I should have done a flame out hops at 60 minutes. All right, flame out. I'm going to kill that. All right, to kind of catch you guys up, I know you've been on the stream for a while though. I just flamed out. I'm going to hook up, disconnect the steam condenser, and then I'll hook up the counterflow chiller to start knocking down this wort to pitching temperature. If you didn't catch this earlier, I've got a DIY wooden brew table. At some point, I'll have to replace it with a stainless steel, but I'm going to rock it until it falls apart. But I plumbed it in a way where I have a faucet in the middle, and I also plumbed this side to have an outlet, just so I can run the steam condenser and this counterflow chiller. So how a counterflow chiller works is I'll pump the hot liquid through the top, and I'll pump the cold water through the bottom, and the counterflowing action and the counterflow chiller will cool the wort down. And at the same time, I will flow the wort into the boil kettle, and the Whirlpool action will collect all the hops in the center of the boil kettle. At least that's what I'm going to try to do. All right, well, I'll go ahead and start knocking this down. We are at boiling temperature. I'll turn on the pump. Might have to prime it a little bit. Yep. here we go.
All right, that is hot as hell. And I didn't put in the, there we go.
So I'm going to let this run for, let's say, 15 minutes. We'll see what the temperature is like in 15 minutes. And if anybody's jumped on, we just finished the boil. We added all our hop additions, and we did the Whirlpool tablet to clarify this Altbier that we're brewing. And we also added a yeast nutrient. And what I'm doing right now is chilling the wort down. We're at 200 degrees, and this works great. It chills it down pretty quick. I'd say in the past I have hit pitching temperatures at 15 minutes, but I'm not going to belabor this today. I'm just going to get it to where it's a reasonable temperature, and then I'll just jump over to my glycol chiller and show you guys how that works. Okay, we're already at 190 degrees. I'm going to take a peek inside to see if we're getting good Whirlpool. Yep. I've done that so many times where I've reached over the kettle and had a blast of steam on my arm. And that does not feel good. But right now, I'll describe it to you. The wort's going through the Counterflow chiller, back into the boil kettle, and it's swirling around inside. It's working really good. So if I boiled off a little bit more wort than I was planning, I'm probably going to have a stronger Altbier than I was planning, because I'm at, anyway, the temperature at the wort right now is 1047, but the wort was a little warmer. Generally want to take gravity readings when the wort's at room temperature, or you have to do some calculations to offset the gravity readings. But we'll take a gravity reading once this is knocked down. I'm going to try to knock it down as much as possible. Let's take a look at the notes. We're at the cool wort to fermentation temperatures. I'm doing that right now. The next checkbox is transfer to for a fermenter. I'll bring this. I have my fermenter all cleaned and ready to ferment over here. So I'll wheel this glycol system over there when that's done. And if you guys have any questions about the glycol system while I'm setting this up, make sure to post the question in the chat. And I'll pause and come back over, and while it's cooling down to pitching temperatures, I'll answer any questions about the glycol system. Again, it's a pretty cool system. I would definitely build one again. Yeah, brew gear, kettles. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not a high priority, but I would upgrade my 10-gallon kettle to a 15 for my HLT. I would have to upgrade my panel. I'd have to get another, like a breaker to run a 240 volt, but as you can see, it's over there. It's literally right next to my control panel, so it wouldn't be a big deal. I bet it'd be hard to brew in the summer, man. It's getting warm here, but I think it's warm in my garage because I'm standing next to 15 gallons of boiling water. Yeah, I'm not familiar with brew gear. I see it's a Kickstarter. I'll have to check it out. I'm gonna modify my brew cart before I do the next one. Do you have like a cart like this you can wheel around? Yeah. I want to get this is not a high priority for me, but when I have to replace my wooden table, I think I'm just going to get a standard stainless steel table that has wheels. And I'm thinking about if it had wheels, I could put it right in front of the camera rather than having to reach behind me and come over here. But figure I'd wheel the setup here, and I can, one, have a stainless steel table, which is nice, and two, I think it'll be easier to roll around in my garage. Yeah. Beer, do you think the welded ports are a benefit? Because I have one kettle that has welded ports. It's great. I think it does fine, but all this system is, you know, the pressure fit of stuff, and I think it does fine as well. I never had a problem with stuff leaking, but curious to know why you need a welded port. Yeah, I completely missed the brew gear. Maybe it was that time where I was at my son's soccer or baseball fields all weekend. I did have to put down brewing for, I think it was a long time. It was 5 or 6 years where I just was the dad who hustled around all weekend long. But when I started back up, this channel has been going for 3 years now, so that's when I picked up brewing again and got into it and went off the deep end with all this stuff. Oh, wow, okay. Tarity brewing, so my issue, it's not really an issue, is some of the bigger brews that have a lot of grain, I need the full 10 gallons of sparge water. So I use it as, you know, the HLT to circulate the mash, but I also use it for the sparge water. And there was one brew where I had to add additional sparge water when I was done with the HLT. That's the only reason I would need the 15 gallon. It's just more of a convenience factor, but most brews like this one, I only needed 7 gallons of sparge water, so I was fine. I had plenty of headroom to empty out the HLT. The 15 gallon is just a convenience factor for me. Yeah, too bad. You know, I was thinking back, and I mentioned it earlier in the live stream, there's so many brewing equipment options now. It's too bad Brew Gear didn't make it, but I mean, there's such specialty gear for fermenters, and you know, I keep going back and forth. Oh, should I buy a conical fermenter or keep these bucket fermenters? I think I'm just going to stick with the bucket fermenters. I know the advantages of conical fermenters, but thinking back 10 years ago, there were no options for these high-end conical fermenters, or you know, most of the brewing pots you had to like buy the basic pot and drill a hole in the side of it and throw a spigot on yourself. It's just, there's so many good options for brewing equipment. It's too bad those guys couldn't stick around for a little while longer. All right, let me take a look at, walk you guys through what's going on here. You're taking a peek. I have awesome Whirlpool action going on. I mean, the color is beautiful. It's exactly the kind of color, the copper color I was thinking about. And two, I am colorblind, but the color looks right to me. And I think it's really cool. You can put your hand on the Counterflow chiller, and you know, it starts where one coil is cold and the rest is hot. I'm about 3 coils to the top. It's still warm, and I'm at 115 degrees. So we'll give this a little while longer. I think the Whirlpool feature of brewing always confused me when I first started. Like, oh, Whirlpool, what do you need a Whirlpool for? What does that do? Well, if you're new to homebrewing and you're trying to cool down your wort, and either, I'm sure you guys have done this, you stick your pot in the sink and you fill it with ice, and you're sitting there with a stirrer, and you're stirring, trying to get as much contact of that hot wort to the cold water as possible to chill your wort down, because the goal is to bring down the temperature as fast as possible. But I was like, what do you need Whirlpool for? But once you realize, well, if I hook it up to a Counterflow chiller, I don't have to stand on top of a wort and stir it like a madman. And then two, I can just dump the hops in the boil kettle and you get more hop extraction. And there's a word for that. When you extract the hop oils, when you throw the hops directly in the boil, you just get, it's just much more efficient than sticking them in a bag or a brew basket. I use a brew basket, but I just prefer doing this. And the Whirlpool action spins it around, collects all the hops in the middle, and then you could just drain it out and stick it in your boil kettle. And you can have a conversation on a Brew Day Live with you guys, and I don't have to stand on top of this thing and cool the wort. Now, I didn't want to announce this, but since you guys are hanging on to this Brew Day, a buddy of mine picked up, this was last year, we got a killer deal on 3 50-gallon Blickman boil kettles. And we have some graduation parties planned next year, or both our boys graduate high school. And we're gonna be putting together a one barrel system, and we're gonna brew for a bunch of parties. So that's gonna be on the channel at some point. I don't plan on brewing on a 50-gallon system all the time, but we got such a good deal on these 50-gallon kettles. It was ridiculous. I think we bought the 3 kettles and 2 burners for $300 to $400. And we're gonna put together a system to brew for next year's graduation. So that's a little more to come on the channel. So I have a couple things going on the channel where I'm actually going to downsize the brewery a little bit. I'm not going to be brewing on this all the time. I do plan on brewing 3-gallon batches more often. But I'm going to be brewing the 10-gallon batches, and to really kill it will be the 50-gallon 1-barrel batch. That'll be fun, but that's going to be kind of a once in a while deal. Isomerization, thank you. So that's why I need people in the live chat to make me sound smart. I hope I said that right, isomerization. Yeah. So here we're at. So I got we're down to 100 degrees. So this thing is working awesome. So what I'll do is I'll just pick up my fermenter. I'll bring the fermenter over here. I'll fill it up, and then I'll kind of wheel this cart out of the way, and I'll walk you through the glycol chiller. The fermenter is pretty cool. If you haven't seen other videos of mine, this is such an easy and cheap addition to a bucket fermenter. I have that. I think the coil was 30 bucks, but I retrofitted it to this Anvil bucket fermenter, and it's killer. It really does a nice job. And I did it for 2 fermenters. So I can do 10 gallons at a time. And now if I get really crazy, I created a video a couple years ago on a fermentation chamber. I didn't plan on building fermentation chambers for my brewery, but at the time I used a lot of the Inkbird products, and they're great. I used it for this fermentation chamber, and Inkbird reached out and said, hey, could you do a video on our anniversary? And I think every brew tuber at the time did the Inkbird video. But I said, sure, as long as you supply the Inkbirds, I'll build the freezers. So I have 2 fermentation chambers, and I did a comparison video on those 2, and they're very similar. They both maintain temperatures really well. The glycol system can get a little bit more precise because it has direct contact with the wort, but the fermentation chamber is just as good as, in my opinion, for the level of brewing that I'm doing. Dang it, got caught again, maybe. All right. I must be doing a hand gesture that stops the gimbal. Well, it sounds, Beer Quiet, it sounds like you have friends who can help you out with the drinking part if you need beer. Don't you fake it until you make it with brewing too? You know, I look at my knowledge, I brew 5 to 10 times a year, and I just try to learn a little bit as I can as I go. And at the end of the year, you learn a little bit more, and that's how I look at it. I've never been able to chug beer. Maybe strictly, I'm a slow drinker. Paces me. A third base coach? No, I'm not. If you're talking about me, I'm not a third base coach. I was the team photographer. That's another hobby of mine. I do photography. Now, videography is another deal. I don't know. I know the basics of videography, but taking a still picture, I can do that. Oh, the hand signals. Oh, I get it. Yeah. Well, after using this thing, I probably would make a third base coach. There's 4 hand signals that this gimbal knows. It's follow me, reframe me, record, which I'm not recording, and there's one more. And I must be doing the one where I disable the hand signals, and I don't know which one that is. So I'm going to try to keep my hands down here. Maybe that's a signal from a third base when you keep your hands down by your side. Oh, you don't want to see me doing mandatory beer chugs. Although I'm at a place in this brew where I'm safe now. I don't have anything boiling. It's kind of at a slower pace, and I'm at 90, and I need to be at oh, you know what? We're actually at 9.1 gallons. This is perfect. 9.1 gallons. So we're dead on. Trying to see, what is the pitching temperature? Don't know the pitching temperature. I know it has to be a little lower. I love beer too. If I start chugging, you know that's the part of the night where it's all downhill. That's when my wife gives me that look and says, you're on your own. I don't know pretty sure the pitching temperature is lower than your typical Kolsch. Okay, so it's, Beersmith says 67 degrees in the primary for 14 days. I have a feeling, I'm gonna have to check my notes. I think this is, maybe it's fermented at 67 and then it's lagered for another couple weeks. I think it'd be fine if I pitched the yeast at 67 degrees because that's in the safe zone of this Kolsch yeast. I might have to think about that. I'm at the part of the brew day where my brain is kind of shutting down a little bit, but I know what I want to do is hit my pitching temperatures for this Altbier, which I know is a little lower than your typical Kolsch. And then I think it goes just like a Kolsch at a lower temperature, and then you cold crash it, but then you let it lager. That's where you get that hybrid lager deal. AI is crazy. I wonder if AI is going to take over brewing. No, I think I've never done an ultra light beer. I think that would be the ultimate challenge. Those big breweries like the Miller Lights and Bud Lights, I'm not a big fan of those beers, but they brew them so consistently at a large scale. I mean, the science and the brewing science behind that's crazy, where they can be so consistent, but not crazy about the lighter beer. Okay, Stephen at Northwest Small Batch. 1 second. Hello? Come in through the back door.
What's up?
Gotta warn you, I'm live on YouTube right now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so.
Oh, it smells good in here.
All right, come on over here. Come over here. You want a microphone?
Sure.
All right, let's do this.
I'm a little sweaty from being in an airplane, but
See if this works. 2 at one time.
what's that?
2 microphones at one time.
So is this live?
Yeah, so we're live.
Okay.
We've got a couple viewers on here,
Nice.
and they've been keeping me company for the past 4 or 5 hours. It's been a really good stream.
Cool.
The only thing is I want to check the audio. Bear with me as I get this new microphone up and running. I'm going to bring you up to speed.
Sure.
We brewed an Altbier,
Yes.
and we're right at the coal crashing. So I hit most of my numbers.
Came at the right time.
I'm an idiot because I forgot to add the water salts like I typically do.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know why this isn't turning on.
Was I supposed to bring a fermenter up here, or?
I got one ready for you right there.
Okay.
It's all cleaned out.
Awesome. Totally forgot.
Well, I'll tell you what, since we're at the end, this blue light's not coming on.
Oh.
I don't know why. Oh, because I have to turn it on. That works. All right, just stick that on your belt and stick it over there. All right, well, here's my buddy Matt. He's my partner in crime for the most part. He comes and helps me brew most brew days. Where were you, Cape May?
No, I took my commercial pilot's test today and passed it.
Nice.
So I'm a commercial pilot now.
Wow,
Yeah.
so you can fly people.
I can fly people.
And charge them money.
Yep.
All right, give me a thumbs up if you can hear Matt's mic.
Can you hear the mic?
Or just let me know if you can hear the mic. Food, please. I thought,
They can hear?
oh, I don't know, not yet. We'll monitor that. See
Okay.
if that's working. I think, is mine blinking? Mine's not blinking. Oh yeah, it is blinking. I think it's not on or paired. Okay, hold on. Maybe you can't have 2 at the same time.
Maybe not. I just have to talk loud.
Is it blinking the same way as mine? It's blinking the same way?
Okay.
All right, well, stick that on for now. All right. Yeah, so as I was saying, Matt's is my brewing partner in crime. He's taken half of this beer. So just to let you know, you brewed an alt beer today, and here's the recipe.
Awesome.
It's an old beer. It's an old beer. It's a hybrid lager and ale. This is like before Germany started to have.
So what does that mean for fermenting if it's in between a lager and an ale?
You ferment it at your typical Kolsch beer, and then you actually lager it a little bit at a lower temperature for a period of time to clarify it and
All right, so like 10
finish
days, 10 days of fermenting, and then...
I was just trying to find that. I don't have it on my notes. I'm going to have to reference that after this brew day.
Oh, okay.
But we're right at the end here, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
It's a nice color.
I mean, we're at 80 degrees, so we're already at almost pitching temperatures. So what I'm going to do is, instead of like getting this down to like 70-ish, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the fermenters, and then I'm going to get the glycol system set up. I'll walk the viewers through the setup, and then...
Are you using your refrigerators, or are you using glycol today?
Let me check the mixer. I'm afraid to switch out of the view because it's kicked me off of YouTube a few times. Oh, wait a second.
Well, look, they're both going up when we talk.
Well, because I'm on the iPhone. Turn yours off. It's supposed to be on this USB mic.
Okay, mine's off.
All right,
It's off.
just kill it.
Okay.
We'll have to figure that out next time. All right, where were we? Why don't you grab a beer?
All right. We got.
Glasses are in the house. I have Julius. Oh, you know what? We went to a brewery the other day.
Yeah.
You might like this beer.
I'll take whatever. I'll go get a glass.
Here, Broken Trail. Okay. I'm back. I think what happened was, well, I hope you were getting my lavalier mic for most of the stream. I think it went to my iPad microphone, which I don't know how good of an audio quality that is. I didn't test that before the stream. But let me know if you can hear my mic now. To bring you guys up to speed, we are 80 degrees. I think we're going to get as low as we can.
I've had this before.
All right, good. Well, you're just not going to hear Matt today unless he's picked up through my audio microphone. All right. We're all ready to transfer to the fermenter.
Smells good.
All right. Let me think about this.
Are we going to do it?
Turn the water off. Turn the water off. I'm going to turn this off. Whoa. Excuse me.
Where are you coming out?
I'm going to turn this off because I've done that before, taking a hose off this and spilled it everywhere. I was supposed to get 9.1 gallons. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, and then I want to just do that. This. Well, let me show you guys before I throw this in the fermenter.
You want to hold that up and you can talk about it?
Nah, I'll just do this. So here's my 7.5 gallon, this is an Anvil bucket fermenter, and did a couple modifications on this where I've got this coil inside that acts as the heat exchanger. I just drilled a couple holes in the top, and I also put a valve in the top where I can actually hit it with some CO2 when I'm dry hopping or I just want to purge it throughout the fermentation process. These are the glycol lines that go to my glycol system, and this is just a quick connect where I can disconnect and connect the glycol system without spilling it everywhere. And as I mentioned earlier, this has worked out great for the past few years. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to transfer half the wort into this fermenter, and I have a fermenter ready for you because I knew you were going to show up right at the end of the brew day. We're going to split it up, and he's going to take his home and ferment it on the fermentation chambers.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to ferment mine on my glycol system because I'm cooler in terms of how I chill my beer. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Check this out. Oh, you got to check this out. Ready? Ready for this? You got to move.
Ah,
Yeah, you like? Yeah.
Nice.
My dad gave me that for my birthday.
You have a like a tag on you?
Tag.
Is it following a tag or is it just following you?
No, it's AI where it recognizes your hand gestures. Like if you have a certain hand gesture. Don't do it now. I got it all positioned. I have it positioned. Okay.
All right.
Let's close that, close that. I'm going to spill this everywhere. I know I am.
With you taking that out?
Yes. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Now I'm all excited.
So that's closed now.
It's closed. I'm going to spill this everywhere.
I just hold it higher than the... yeah, you're going to spill it.
Well, I've spilled stuff everywhere this brew day. I just left it.
Well, actually, no. You shouldn't do it.
All right. Now, once you get your fermenter over here. So we'll get about...
This is that water. Should I dump that water out?
Oh yeah, that's actually just left over from the boil. So I sanitized that and everything, so you're good to go. Because I'm such a good friend.
You are. Such a nice day.
Now I only made 9.1 gallons because I wanted to make sure we were under the... I probably could have done 10. Yeah, I probably could have done 10 easy. And I was an idiot. I went out and bought yeast last weekend, and I stuck it in the freezer, and I unplugged the freezer because I needed the extension cord, and I didn't plug it back in.
So,
No, I had to go back out and buy new yeast.
ugh. Your valve's off, right?
And I had a secondary camera this entire brew day, and it just kept cutting out, and my stream kept shutting off. I was so bummed about it because I wanted to show this part of the brew day. Oh, so what is it? 9.5 is 4.5 gallons each, right? I'll give you a little more.
Yeah, that's whatever it is. Yep. So I almost sent you this picture
Okay.
of my father-in-law's beer pour, which is reminiscent of yours.
Oh, nice. I got yelled at by Jeff about my beer pour this week. Yeah, we went out to a brewery Thursday night, and no. We came back here, and I destroyed the beer pour. I just chugged it all in there.
Yeah. How were the fireworks here?
They were great. Yeah, the fireworks were really good. Okay.
Yeah, fireworks on the shore were just marginal.
See, you go away for 5 days, you come home, and you have some Altbier waiting for you.
Awesome.
I would have started later, but
It's all right. I knew I was going to be...
I wasn't sure what time you were getting home.
So. Yeah, I was up at 5:45, over to the airport by about 7. Got out to the other airport where I took my test, and it was pretty quick, about a 4-hour test.
No, overall, it was a pretty successful brew day. I mean, I made a little bit of a mess.
Well, that's
Besides the salt additions, I screwed that up, but that was only for the step mash.
okay.
But then I caught up with the salts at 60 minutes. Other than that,
It all worked out.
yeah, the camera threw me off. The camera kept going out on me, and the stream went down 3 or 4 times.
Well, that's for the next time. Next time the camera will be better. And next time, anvils. It looks like it's just sucking hops now.
You got to get all that goodness out. Well, it's just hops.
It's just hops. Nice and sludgy.
Oh, that's all right.
So my wife took over one of my fermenters.
Why?
A bunch of stuff. I fixed the freezer. The freezer was leaking water out the bottom. She put all the cold stuff in there.
Oh, go ahead and put the top on. I'll have to get back to you about pitching temperatures. I think you can pitch the yeast right now, but I'm not sure what temperature to ferment at. Let me look through my notes. I don't have it on me right now.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta start. It's been so long since we brewed.
6 months. Well, longer than that with us. I did the hazy brew in November, and then I have not brewed this year. This is the first brew this year.
I did the porter when you did the hazy brew. And that porter went quick. I still have the Vienna lager.
All right, just want to walk these guys through.
Yep.
Whoever has lasted this long, let me check the chat.
You got on there.
Let me get this back over here. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
That is cool.
That saved me from not having 2 cameras today. At least I can pan around a little bit. Oh, they said you could hear Matt.
Nice. I'm loud enough.
Okay. Yeah, the Anvil bucket fermenters with the coil, I think, is probably the next best thing in terms of not having a conical fermenter. It's stainless. You can't pressure ferment. That's one drawback. Yeah, it doesn't hold pressure at all, but it does a good enough job. So the smell of the wort, I guess it smells like an Altbier, but it does smell good. Yeah, clean up in the garage brewery. That'll happen just in a minute. But whoever's still on, I think I know the crew who's been on this live stream. Let me walk you through the glycol, because I think this is the cool part. And see if I don't break anything. All right, got to plug it in. I probably should have turned on the glycol chiller so it was cooled off when I was ready to go, but I'm an idiot. That looks good. Okay, how I do this, I have it plugged in. Now I can just turn the unit on. It works after 6 months. It's amazing. And then I'll turn on.
Now, did you redo the air conditioning unit?
Yeah, I had to do that. So I have that quick connect back here. When I'm ready to go, I'll just plug this guy in. And let me see if this is the right one. Okay, that's the guy we want. So how this works is this first ink bird sets the temperature of the cooler that holds all the glycol. So we want to typically set the glycol at 30 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I turned it off. So right now the glycol is 76 degrees. And this Inkberg has it set for 29 degrees. So there's a delay timer on these Inkbirds that it'll kick on in a minute. And what that will do is it'll turn the air conditioner on and it'll start cooling the glycol down from the cooling coil and the air conditioning. You can check out my videos. What's that?
Move it up a little bit so they can see it.
Oh.
It's just got your neck. Go up a little bit more. There you go. You can see everything now.
Okay. But you don't want to see my gut? All right.
Yeah, you gotta see your face, otherwise you gotta see neck.
All right, so the idea here is this first Inkbird fires up the AC. It'll turn the AC on and it has the coil built in from the AC unit that's submerged in the glycol, and it'll cool the glycol down. So it will maintain that glycol at 29 degrees. And the two other Inkbirds control two fermenters. And this is the Inkbird we're going to be controlling this fermenter in. And what I'll do is I'll turn it on. Well, first I'll set the target temperature to, the last time I used this, I cold crashed to 38 degrees. I think we want to be at 67 degrees. I'll have to double check to see what the pitchy temperature is. I'll do that after the live video ends, but what I'll do is I'll bring down this fermenter down to what it's at right now and set it to 67 degrees. One important thing I have to do is it got 20 degrees hotter in here.
It is.
I am sweating now. All right, I'll have to insert, there's a probe on the top of this fermenter, which I want to monitor the temperature. And I think this is this is the one I want. See, I'm pinching it and it's going to 85, 86. So this is the probe I want to use for this fermenter. Well, the AC did not kick on, did it? Is it plugged in? Why that didn't turn on? Oh, because I have to turn. So this turns on power. This guy turns on the AC unit. Now, I've gotten questions about this control panel all the time about, well, do you need all these switches and these light indicators? No, you can control everything through these Inkbird control panels, but this just adds a level of convenience, which I can stand across the garage, I can see which one's pumping, which one's heating, but you can hear now the AC kicked on, the light came on, and now the AC is going to take that glycol down from 76 to 29. And then from there, I can turn on the pump. There's two pumps inside the glycol reservoir, and I don't know if you can see it, but the fermenter's at 80 degrees right now. It's way too hot to pitch my yeast. So what I'm going to do is throw on the pump, which will start circulating the glycol through these tubes into the glycol coil and eventually bring that down to pitching temperatures. And I also have a heating blanket that I can use to finish off the fermentation when I'm done. But anyway, I'm not going to have this on the live brew day. I'm going to let this kind of finish out. Yeah, so now I'm cold crashing and, not cold crashing, bringing it down to fermentation pitching temperatures. And if you guys have any questions on the glycol system, I'm happy to answer them. But I'm going to let this go, and I'll probably pitch the yeast when this is down to pitching temperatures in maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
So what kind of yeast are you using?
This is you take one of these guys. White Labs WLP 029. We used the same yeast for the Kolsch we brewed.
Okay.
Well, at least I did. I think you used a different yeast for your
Yeah,
Kolsch.
I used the big silver thing. It was like
Oh.
this big,
Oh, okay. The Y yeast?
the Y yeast.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used this. So you still got to sanitize this, and is there a thing inside here, or is it just
No, it's a direct pitch.
throw it right
Yeah.
in?
Yep.
So easy.
Easy peasy.
Oh, good.
Well, anyway, unless you guys have any questions, I'm happy to stay on a little bit more to talk through getting this down to pitching temperatures. But I do plan on having a few follow-up videos on how I maintain the temperatures throughout the fermentation process. I'm going to keg it, and also I'll make sure to have a taste test when it's done. Maybe I might do a live brew day. We'll do a live brew day for the taste testing. I appreciate everyone who logged in today. It was super fun for the engaging you guys through chat. I really appreciate Beer Quai, Bruce, thanks for jumping on. And the Brewing Bad, thanks for jumping on early in the brew day. Elarito, thanks for all those chats early on in the first two videos I put out there. I really appreciate you guys helping me out with this live day. And I think who else do I want to have a call out to? Oh, there's somebody else. Well, anyway, well, thanks everybody for hanging out today. Had a lot of fun. I'll see you next time. Cheers.
So when you do the taste test, are you gonna have anybody else on the other side tasting
Yeah.
similar beer?
Beer Quai, yeah, I'll check you out with Discord, and yeah, thanks again for hanging out. I super appreciate it. And yeah, Brewing Bad, yeah, I think I called him out earlier. Thanks, Brewing Bad, for jumping on traveling out wherever you were going today. Anyway, cheers. Happy brewing.